are muted.
Radio!
Radio! Turn your radio on. It's 6:05 p.m. in beautiful downtown
Columbia.
That means it's time for Americana Central Time.
And now, your host, a singer, songwriter, world-traveling troubadour, and 30-year veteran of the Grand Ole Opry, George Hamilton V.
Well, howdy, y'all. I'm George Hampton V, and we got beside me right now Miss Americana Ann Johnson. Howdy, Americana Ann.
Hey, GB, this is a big night for us.
This really is, and it's a big night for the Americana Music Triangle, where history made music.
And music made history.
Find out more about the Americana Music Triangle at AmericanaMusicTriangle.com. And remember, we're coming to you live from Nashville's big backyard in Columbia, Tennessee, from the voice of Murray County and the world, folks, tonight. This is WKOM Radio 101.7 FM at WKOMradio.com all around the world. And right now we have a man to come over to the microphone, a gentleman who is owner-operator, along with Mary Susan Kennedy, the one and only Del Kennedy.
George Americana, and welcome to all the folks in the studio, our guest worldwide that we have tonight. Tonight we have a tribute to Poco, particularly the late Rusty Young. We have live right here in our studio at WKOM some of the most famous and successful artists in the world, members of the Eagles, Doobie Brothers, Buffalo Springfield, and Poco. It's going to be a huge night. George, we are not only on WKOMradio.com and WKOM Radio FM 101.7 here in Columbia, Tennessee. We are on 8 different platforms tonight.
Different platforms?
We are anticipating an audience of over 1 million people.
Yeah!
And
all right.
George, what I want you to do is take us around the room and introduce us to all these folks who are our guests here in the studio. It's an incredible gathering. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you,
Del Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you, Del Kennedy. I tell you what, it's just great to be here. You know, WKOM and WKRM are known as Front Porch Radio here in Columbia, Tennessee, and we'd like to be a front porch to the world. Now, I was talking to John Cowan of the Newgrass Revival and the Doobie Brothers on the phone the other day. I said, John, imagine. And John said, okay, what? I said, what if we put on a show? And he said, you mean kind of like our gang? I said, yeah. But this would be a tribute show to Rusty Young. And what happened then, John Cowan?
And he did.
That's right.
Well, the first couple people I called, one was Jack Sundrud, here sitting on my right. And the second person I called on my left is Mr. Jim Messina.
Yeah!
Hello.
And then I called Bill Lloyd, and then we called Tom Hampton,
Yeah.
Rick Lonow, Michael Webb, Michael Kelsh.
Yeah.
Did I mention Bill Lloyd?
Bill
My
Lloyd.
favorite man. So what happened was this thing just took on a life of its own. Jimmy Messina here was happy to he suggested calling Timothy B. Schmit, and
Yeah.
he did. And then Timothy responded and said he'd love to be a part of it. And that happened with everyone we called. We're going to have all sorts of people calling in tonight. Jeff Hanna from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Russ Paul, famous Nashville steel player, Steve Fishell, famous Nashville steel player, Patrick Simmons from the Doobie Brothers, Bruce Bouton, another amazing steel player, Dan Dugmore, legendary steel player, Bernie Leadon from the Eagles.
He's been on our show before.
Yes, he has. Timothy B. Schmit from the Eagles, and Poco. So many of these guys were also members of Poco. Paul Cotton from Poco is going to call in. John David Call, legendary steel player for Pure Prairie League. And finally, but not least and last, is Mr. Richie Furay from Poco.
Goes all
and
the way
Buffalo
back to
Springfield.
Buffalo Springfield.
And John, Brian told me that the poster had to be changed 8 times because
did.
people kept agreeing to come on the show.
Yeah, we had 8 versions of the poster, and the last one finally got it right.
Yeah. Well, this is just going to be a very special night. Of course, Rusty Young was a friend to everyone in this room, and a friend, I would imagine, to everyone he ever met, because what a sweet soul he was, a kind spirit. And
I want to mention that we are joined by his lovely better half, Mary Young, tonight.
And she did some great videos of Rusty back in February, and they're on the Poco website, I believe, and on Rusty's website.
There's more to come.
Yeah.
So it's just a night of
Yeah.
celebrating the life and legacy of Rusty Young.
Yeah, you know, it's Rusty was co-founder, of course, of Poco, and a song that Rusty wrote and he sung. It became one of their biggest hits. Are we going to sing that song tonight in
It's
this room?
crazy. I just don't know.
Crazy? Sounds good to me. Of course, the song is Crazy Love.
Of course it is.
When will we sing that song? Is it going to be at the top of the show? Or?
I'm not giving it away because we want people to stay around for the whole show.
Stay tuned. Well, it's great to have y'all here at Americana Central Time, and that's what it's all about. And to see y'all down here in Columbia, it's a long way down. John, you live here, and as we've said many times on this show, we'd like to call the town Columbia.
And we do sometimes.
All right. We always like to have a few laughs. So if you have some laughs along the way, it's all out of
Laughs
love.
is good.
Yeah. Well, I've got my list here of what's happening. I've had my opening remarks.
Okay.
Oh, we got a song coming up here. Is this Rusty actually singing?
Yes, this is from Rusty's solo album.
And that's right. This is from the album Rusty Young, Waiting for the Sun. Now, Jack Sundrud, you played on this album.
I did, and so did Rick, and so did Michael.
Move close to the microphone there.
It's from 2017. This
Okay.
is a solo album, Rusty and Blue Lawn Records.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. And it's available on online, I think, right? Yeah.
Everywhere.
It's available everywhere.
It's available
Get it.
everywhere, and it's on vinyl. It's on CD.
It's streaming. It's anything you want, anything you need.
So
Yeah.
we'd like you to introduce this next song. That's just going to be. This is a recording from Rusty's solo record. We'll get to playing live here in a minute. If you want to tell them a little bit about this number, and we'll get on with the show.
Well, I tell you what, Rusty. Michael Kelsh, are you going to tell us something about the song? Or? Oh, okay, Jack. Can you say a few things about the song?
Well, it's a song that Rusty wrote about all the people that he has worked with over the years
Yeah.
and came to be friends with. And it's a beautiful thing called My Friend.
All right,
Here we go.
Rusty Young.
Here we are after all these years, still the same as we were back when, oh so long ago, you know, my friend. Now times may change, you know they do, but life's been good for me and you, after all that we've been through, my friend. Memories like autumn leaves, dancing in the wind, symphonies from where and when, played again and again and again. Yesterday is yesterday. You got to take it day by day, my friend. Just take it day by day by day, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Man,
Yes, sir.
Rusty Young and Poco. Fantastic off of an album that you can get right now. Would that be like the latest released?
Yes.
Poco, yeah.
It is. It's great. You know,
It's a solo album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, man, you know, I think even though it was solo, I believe the band members were on
Yes,
the album.
yes, we
yeah,
were.
very,
Yes.
very beautiful. Well, we talked earlier about a song that Rusty wrote, and it's interesting. I guess, am I correct in saying that this kind of came as a surprise because Rusty he was painting an apartment or something, wasn't he? And somehow
He was hanging sheetrock.
he's hanging sheetrock. I've got to do that myself. Who knows what might happen to me?
Exactly.
But this song went on to become perhaps their biggest hit, the biggest hit, and one that you hear everywhere. And Rusty on the video that you see from Canada jokes about, you probably didn't hear on the radio, you heard it in Home Depot or Lowe's or somewhere like that. It's amazing where the music goes, but, you know, Rusty was able to laugh and have fun. He didn't really act like a star, and that's what made him such a huge star. And now he's shining down on us. And this song, every time you hear it, he's right there with you. A song that we're going to sing tonight in the WKOM studios in Columbia, Tennessee on Americana Central Time. Crazy Love.
Tonight I'm gonna break away. Just you wait and see. I'll never be imprisoned by a faded memory. Just when I think I'm over her, and this broken heart will mend, I hear her name and I have to cry. The tears come down again. It happens all the time. This crazy love of mine wraps around my heart, refusing to unwind. Ooh, crazy love. Count the stars in the summer sky that fall without a sound, and then pretend that you can't hear these teardrops coming down. It happens all the time. This crazy love of mine wraps around my heart, refusing to unwind. Ooh, crazy love. Tonight I'm gonna break away. Just you wait and see. I'll never be imprisoned by a faded memory. It happens all the time. This crazy love of mine wraps around my heart, refusing to unwind. Ooh. gonna break away.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, Jack Sundrud, Michael Webb, and Rick Lonow, and Tom Hampton. Can you all remember the last time y'all sang that with Rusty? Where were y'all at when you sang that last time together?
Florida. Wearsdale, Florida, at a place called the Orange Blossom Opry.
All right.
It was March 8th of at probably 3:45 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And we all knew that COVID was about to become a thing and that we were probably playing our last show for a while, but none of us thought that it would be the last show.
Yeah.
But that was the last time we performed it was there.
And this is Tom Hampton. So that's just amazing. And can you, I mean, when you were saying the song tonight, I guess you were just transported back there just thinking about that.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, I'm still kind of trying to come to grips with this whole thing to begin with, you know, that, you know, because I thought it was going to be my last show with the band to begin with because I was subbing for somebody else. And then, you know, then they turned around and offered me the job after those 4 shows because everybody felt so good about the way those shows had gone. So I thought, you know, I was already kind of trying to take everything in from that show as it was because I wanted to, you know, kind of write all those images in ink in my head. But, you know, and then, you know, then they offered me the, you know, the full-time gig, and then, you know, we never played again.
Wow. Well, now, Michael Webb, you are, I know, this is that point, kind of point, but I mean, we've done some work in the studio together. You've done lots of work. Yeah, but you've worked with everybody in this room, and of course, you and Rusty Young had a great vibe. You can see from the pictures on stage of you with Jack and Rick and Rusty.
He was a true musician and played with fire and honestly every night.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
move on.
Yeah. I tell you what.
There was a chemistry there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it took me. It was transported of many nights.
Yeah.
And he was an honest musician and a genius musician. So you could not help but every night on a big stage rise to a larger occasion playing with Rusty Young.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, meeting Mary, meeting Jack, getting to sing all those songs.
Singing on the Grand Ole Opry.
And then when Rick got in, it was we had several other years with it was the best of all worlds.
Yeah. Well, for sure.
So
well, now we're moving over here, John. We've got somebody in the room who really needs no introduction. I'm shaking in my boots. When I met him, I was like, this is amazing. John, you and Jack have put together a stellar show. It's a star-studded event.
We can thank this gentleman for that.
Yeah, this man, the one and only Jim Messina.
yeah.
And you live here in Nashville's big backyard in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm finally a Leaper's Fork friend. So yes, we love it.
Wonderful.
We love it.
I was going to ask Jimmy if he didn't mind telling us this story about meeting Rusty and how that came to be that Rusty performed on the Buffalo Springfield the last time around album.
Yeah, it's interesting that I was speaking with John today. I'm always curious about the leaf that falls from the top of the tree and where it finally lands, and it really started way back before that. Richie and I were in a taxi cab going to a guitar store. I think it was in San Francisco, Satterley and Chapin, something like that. And we knew the Springfield was going to break up. And I asked him, I said, have you any thoughts about what you want to do? And he said, not really, I just don't know. And I said, well, you know, what about us continuing to work together? How about, you know, a band of some sort? And he said, well, I don't know what we would do. And I said, well, look, you know, you've written songs like Child's Claim to Fame and Kind Woman, and they kind of have a country background to them, because that's how I grew up with that kind of music. And of course, before working with the Springfield, I worked with a lot of country artists. So I said, you know, why don't we, instead of doing, you know, folk rock, which was what the Springfield was, why don't we try doing something like country rock?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I don't know. Let's just wait and see. So we'd gone to New York to try and record the last time around album. I was producing it in L.A. at Sunset Sound, and we went to New York, and I asked Amit, let's bring everybody there so we can record the band, get them all in one spot. And regrettably, Neil didn't take that trip, and Stephen was off doing something while we were recording. And of course, Dewey being a spiritual guy, he was out doing the spirits that evening. And so we had no band. And I asked Arif Marden, I said, can you get me some musicians, And he says, well, yeah. He says, we have the best here in New York. And he said, I'll get you musicians. So we show up the next day, and he did. Richard Davis on bass and just some phenomenal players. And they said, what are we doing? And I said, well, there's this song I want to record called Kind Woman. And he says, well, what is it? And I said, well, and of course, we didn't know what it was at that time. I said, it's a song that's kind of a ballad, and it's country-ish, and folkish, and okay. So I said, okay, so here are the charts, and so the keyboard player says, well, what are you looking for? I said, well, it needs to be kind of country. So he played Floyd Kramer.
All right.
That was his idea of what country was, and we recorded this really wonderful track. But when I got back, I just said, Richie, this isn't anything I had in mind.
Yeah.
We need to do something. I think we should put a steel guitar on it, just if we're going to lean in that direction. So I thought about Red Rhodes or Tom Brumley and people like that. But our guitar tech at the time, Miles, I can't remember his last name, Miles Thomas, thank you, said, I know a guy who lives in Colorado. He plays steel guitar, and he's about your age. And he said, why don't you guys give him a try? And I thought, well, why not? So we flew Rusty out
to New York.
No, actually, we flew him to California to Sunset Sound Recorders, where we were living. And on the way, they dropped his steel guitar off the airplane and broke it, which I didn't know at the time. He shows up at this studio and takes it out, finds out that it's broken. He says, oh, my steel's broken. This was his big chance, right? And, I'm producing this record, and we got to do it now. And so I said, Stephen Stills bought a steel guitar when he was out on the road, and I'm sure this would work, So I pull it out, and Rusty never said a word, and he hooked it up, and we started recording, and he played this incredible solo. And I remember looking at Richie, and I said, that conversation we had several months ago, I said, this just might be the guy.
Yeah.
And the truth is, that's really where Poco started from, when we heard him the first time play the song. And much later, we did form Poco, and that was the beginning of it all.
Well, they're talking about that, the whole country rock that you all started, and Rusty with his steel guitar, just to let you know and to let all of the rest of young fans know around the world, a man named Leszek Laskowski, he is the Polish king of steel guitar. He had to actually make his own steel guitar out of scraps of lumber and car parts because they weren't allowed behind the Iron Curtain back in the day. And Leszek Laskowski made two wonderful steel guitars, but he's gone on to record with rock artists, his band, Colorado Band, myself, and my father. And he was totally inspired. One of the first people to respond to the promo we put up there. People over in Poland are listening tonight.
He's listening tonight.
Yeah, and
that's unbelievable.
It's interesting to see the tree where the leaf comes from, where it falls, and Rusty's leaves fell all over the world.
Well, and I have to say, having been on the very beginning of this whole Poco thing, I've watched it through the years from Timmy leaving to me leaving to Richie leaving. Yeah. And I had the privilege of performing with Poco for the last 3 years or so, 4 years we've been on the road.
Yeah.
And I have to say that the evolution of all of these guys and what they did to contribute to it, especially Jack, he came in at a time when we were on the road doing our reunion album, and Richie had left.
Yeah.
And we couldn't stop, and Jack came in and really saved the day, took over the parts.
Jack Sundrud.
And that's when I first met Jack. So,
yeah.
And Jack's been with Poco ever since. So the band has been very fortunate to have people like Jack and those who've continued, on.
Well, we're very fortunate to have you in the studio tonight. Now, are you all going to join in on Kind Woman?
Yeah, I think we'll do that. If I get my voice to work.
Let's try her.
Ready?
Yeah, Jimmy.
got a good reason for loving you. It's an old-fashioned sign.
I kinda get the feeling like, you know when I fell in love the first time.
Kind woman, won't you love me tonight? The look in your eyes, kind woman, don't leave me lonely tonight. Are you saying it's alright? Remember once before, hearing the old folks say, love's an ageless old rhyme. But nowadays, you know, the saying depends so much on the kind of woman that you find. Kind woman, won't you love me tonight? The look in your eyes, kind woman, don't leave me lonely tonight. Are you saying it's alright? Are you saying it's alright?
Jim Messina and all the folks here. We're on Americana Central Time on WKOMradio.com around the world. Watching us on all kinds of platforms right now. John Cowan, Jim Messina, Jack Sundrud, Michael Webb. We'll name off everybody else when we get back after a word from our sponsors here on WKOM Front Porch Radio, Columbia, Tennessee.
Welcome to Columbia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, dedicated to exceptional service, the highest integrity, and your complete satisfaction. We're proud to serve all of Middle Tennessee with over 500 new and 125 pre-owned vehicles in stock to choose from. Columbia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram offers volume discounts from friendly and knowledgeable sales professionals or expert service from our certified technicians.
That's how we became the #1 Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer in the state of Tennessee. You can count on us.
#1 claim based on 2015 combined retail and fleet sales for Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in the state of Tennessee.
Hi, this is Terry Tillis from Tillis Jewelry. Who are we? We are a family-owned jewelry store in Lewisburg on the Square. We've been serving Middle Tennessee for 10 years. Bill is our talented jeweler with 30 years experience. Lindsay is our social media and pearl stringing extraordinaire. Leslie greets each customer with a smile and helps you find the perfect gift. I am Terry, a GIA gemologist and the owner along with my husband Rick, who is a talented jeweler and custom designer. This is us. See us on Facebook and Instagram.
Hi, I'm Steve, the garbage man. Are you new to Murray County? We want to welcome you and your family. We are a local residential garbage service, and we want to be your garbage man. We've been around for over 30 years, so we have a reputation. Check us out at garbagemaninc.com or call Mike at 931-540-0919. You could also ask your neighbor. 931-540-0919.
Life is a journey. This is Danny Bingham with Apex Bank, reminding you no matter where you are in your life, you have a local lifetime friend for your banking needs. Whether you need checking, savings, a mortgage, or refinancing, Apex Banks has your banking solutions. Check out our online banking and mobile app. It's fast and always convenient. Call us at 931-246-7105. Apex Bank, proud of our past, investing in our future together. Apex Bank is a member of FDIC and the Equal Housing Lender.
We are back at Americana Central Time on WKOM. I'm George Hamilton V. This is just so exciting tonight. We have a tribute to a member of the Steel Guitar Hall of Fame, Rusty Young. He is a songwriter. He is a band leader. He's with us tonight. His music, just seeing everybody's face and, to know that everyone in here has been touched by Rusty Young's music all over the world. John Cowan.
Yes.
This is happening.
It's happening, and one of the greatest steel players is on the phone with us right now.
I think, if I'm right, is this a brother?
This is a brother of
and
the Doobies.
You're a brother.
Well, yeah, I'm a band member brother, but he's actually a boss brother.
A boss brother of the Doobie Brothers?
Yeah.
Who might it be on Americana Central Time?
Mr. John McFee, legendary
John McFee.
guitarist, steel player, fiddle player, banjo player, dobro player.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello,
I'll
John.
Give you $5 later for hyping me here. So.
Do you have your mask on while we're talking here? John, you got your mask on?
Yeah, that's Jimmy sending out. Now, John, we got this wonderful tribute to Rusty Young. Are you watching this live online?
Well, Rusty, I still remember the first time I heard Rusty was, and I've been listening to the show, so I heard Jimmy talking about when he brought Rusty in to play on Kind Woman with the Springfield, and I remember hearing that and going, God, that is just so cool. What a cool approach, because that's a really unique approach he took on that song on steel, playing pretty much all single note type licks and stuff, and it's just kind of weaves in and out. It's just beautiful.
Hey,
and
John.
I'm so impressed.
John, this is Jimmy. Yeah. This is Jimmy. Messina.
Hi, hey, Jimmy.
Hey, did he ever tell you that steel that was broken had two necks on it? It was a E neck and a C neck, and he played that solo on the C neck. So as the steel players start to call in, maybe they can tell us what the difference is, because that's the only time I ever saw him play that C neck.
Yeah, well, my guess is that since it wasn't his steel and he was like just all of a sudden confronted with it, that somehow the E neck, the Nashville tuning neck, might have just not been set up right. So he decided, well, I'll just go with it on this neck, and he just played such a unique, cool approach because of that. You know, it's kind of a happy. I think it's probably a happy accident.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, just beautiful. And I got Jimmy. Really great to hear your voice, and I miss you. And I got tasked with actually performing that song a few times, performing with Jimmy as part of Jimmy's band.
That's right. We had
an
evening.
It's a little daunting to have to try to cover that. You know, such a great steel
but
part.
you did such a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. It was an honor. And I got to play it with you and Richie, and I think with Timothy and Richie once when I was in Timothy's band. So I've gotten to be, you know, sort of an after the fact Poco stand-in.
Well, now, John, along with being a Doobie Brother, have you also played with Elvis Costello?
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. I mean, we think about all these neat styles coming together and all the people who've been influenced by this country rock and people who love steel guitar. And you got to forgive me because I'm here in Nashville. It's just safely outside of Nashville. You know, there was something that happened a few years ago where they said we got to take the steel guitar off those songs if we're going to try to release them internationally because nobody digs that steel guitar. And I'm thinking like, what? You know.
But see, that was happening back in 1968 when we hired Rusty. They were a little bit.
Messina,
they just didn't really get it, you know, and that's where Rusty said, look, and he took one of those Fender Leslie cabinets and a wah-wah, and he started making it do something different, and then suddenly they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a guy named B.J. Cole, probably very influenced by Rusty Young over in England, played on some Elton John songs and even on a song that I recorded, was just impressed by him playing with Hank Wangford. He is just a wonderful guy from England. Once again, we talk about the international reach of Rusty Young, the steel guitar, Poco, and of course, I'm going to throw it back over now to you're kind of a Doobie Brother, John Cowan. You can talk. You can talk to your other brother.
He is a big Doobie Brother.
I just want to know if you said Hank Wankford.
Hank Wangford. Yes.
I thought it was Wankford.
No, but Hank Wangford, man, he may be listening right now. I can't really talk. Okay, it's very interesting. You remember Hank Snow was the singing ranger.
Yes.
Hank Wangford was the singing gynecologist. This is true. He came over here. And Hank Wangford, I went with Argyle Bell, if you all remember Argyle, a legend here, steel guitar player in Nashville, Tennessee. And saw Hank Wangford play. Hank had a guy in his band who was George Hamilton VI.
Wow.
And he had fun sort of like picking on my father, saying how sincere he was. You know, and he said, I'm very sincere, you know. But so Hank Wangford is quite a legend and quite inspired. He did a wonderful TV show that you probably saw on the BBC, the A to Z of country music.
There you have it.
Yeah. Now, John Cowan, back to you.
Mr. John McFee, thank you so much for calling in. Rusty's wife, Mary.
It's a pleasure to be part of this, and Rusty was one of the pioneers and a great one. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents of paying tribute and saying what a great artist he was.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, John.
You're welcome.
Miss you too, man.
Now, John
Thanks,
was
everybody.
also a member of the country supergroup Southern Pacific. So
That's right.
So many people have come in and out of Nashville and cross-pollinated that country rock thing. It's happening. John Cowan, this is like, we call it dialing for Rusty. Because you were dialing Rusty's friends, and we got somebody coming on the phone next. Are we actually going to England? Sort of English-American? I don't know. We'll see.
Let's just see what happens here next.
This is it's like a telethon, if you will, like dialing for Rusty. And it's a Rusty Young tribute on Americana Central Time. Rusty Young, the legendary co-founder of Poco.
Somebody else talk for me.
It's a tribute. Let's get back over here to Bill Lloyd or Tom Hampton.
If you need a minute to fill in, Jimmy just filled in a big piece of a mystery that I've been wondering about for a long time, because pedal steel it's essentially a math problem with legs. You know, any instrument that you pick up, you know, that's tuned standard, if you hit that note, it's always going to be that note. But pedal steel, you can put the bar at the 3rd fret and play a triad, and it'll be a major of one. It's all dynamic. Everything moves around.
Can I ask you this one question? Because Rick Lonow, I believe, played in a band called Burrito Deluxe with Sneaky Pete Kleiner.
Yes, I sure did.
And Sneaky Pete, did he introduce Rusty Young to the steel guitar?
No, if you look at the timeline, Rusty and Pete and Poco and the Flying Burrito Brothers kind of hit almost at the same time.
Okay.
Must have been drinking the same Kool-Aid there in Los Angeles, and it started to happen very near the same moment.
Yeah, but there was that connection there. Back to Tom Hampton.
So pedal steel players use one of two generally accepted setups. There's the Emmons setup, which was invented by Buddy Emmons, which means that the pedals, depending on what you're playing, which pedal you hit, gives you a certain chord change. Well, Rusty always played what they call the Jimmy Day setup, which not that many players use. So Stephen Stills' steel that Rusty borrowed when he got to California was set up in the Emmons style, but Rusty had always played the Day style, and he had to sit down at this steel it'd be kind of like sitting down at your computer and trying to use a Microsoft Windows computer if it was in Spanish.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm assuming that he played that on the C neck is because all of the changes on the E neck were Emmons changes instead of Day changes. Yeah. I did not know. I was today years old when I figured that out. So thanks for volunteering that bit of information.
Yeah, it was, and I think, and as I've said many times, that solo that he did was extremely unique.
Yeah.
And I think it made that record. Yeah. As far as a steel guitar, because it didn't sound like country; it sounded more like jazz. It had a hipper quality to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, most people consider that song to be the Big Bang of country rock because that's where it came from.
That's almost like the Big Bang of bluegrass. John Cowan. Now, I want to ask you. We're not going to go there.
Yeah.
John Cowan, but now you actually get somebody on the line.
We need to get on the phone with.
We got somebody from America or England?
It's from America.
America, who might it be?
It might be Dewey Bunnell. Let's get him
Dewey
on the
Bunnell.
phone.
Welcome to Americana Central Time, Dewey. We got the telephone's ringing. Dialing for Dewey.
Hello.
Hello, is this Dewey?
It is. It's Dewey here.
My name is George Hamilton V. I'm here with John Cowan. You probably thought I was a crank caller, but you're on Americana Central Time.
No, I hear you, George. Actually, we had you on. We've been listening. It's fantastic. Good bunch of guys there. John, thank you, and Jack. And Jimmy, that was a great version of Kind Woman. You guys really got it going on there. I'm learning stuff tonight.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching America on our public television. There was a TV special y'all did. And it's fascinating, man. It's like hit after hit after hit after hit. And it's that country rock spirit.
We had some good stuff in those days, and we're very grateful for our career.
Yeah.
You know, I had a couple of notes I'd written down here. Could I just riff a little on Rusty?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, first of all, it's great. I thank you for having me, and thank you to everybody listening in to this history of Rusty Young, who's such a wonderful guy. And coincidentally, earlier today, I was listening to My Friend, the Rusty song from his solo album. And I got to say, I realize how true it is that how often we take each other for granted, like they'll always be there. Yeah. And it was such a shock to hear of Rusty's passing. And I look back on the decades that I interacted with Rusty, sharing stories, having a laugh. He was such a wonderful guy and a pioneer. Our band America really, were inspired by and came up behind all you great guys, Jimmy Messina, of course. And I really do feel his loss today. Yeah. I always respected his talents, and I loved his casual, friendly, he was an enthusiastic guy, his manner, and I always considered him a friend. And I just like being part of that whole musical fraternity, of singer-songwriters. Our band did start in England, and we were young teenage Americans over there, and kind of listening from afar to bands like Buffalo Springfield and the Byrds and all the folk rock and the burgeoning country rock scene that you guys brought to us, And I feel very fortunate to have been part of all that with my band, and of course that included Rusty and Poco. I got one fond memory I just wanted to mention here. If Mary's in the studio there, I don't know, but
yes,
she is.
Both Rusty and Mary have been personal friends of my wife Penny and I, and we had a lake house in the north woods of Wisconsin, and several years back we helped organize an annual event up there called North Woodstock. It was like a Woodstock themed day of full of fun and food and beverage and music, and the pontoon boats pull up there and people on their blankets and folding chairs. It was a fun day of tie-dye and whatnot.
And there's snakes.
But we were able to get Rusty to come up there and marry, and a lot of artists, people up there, that they were mostly all local artists, but it became a tradition, and I'll never forget how grateful we were and how generous Rusty and Mary were coming up there to agree to do it. We spent a couple of days together fishing and barbecue and playing, and Rusty, of course, played a set of his songs and Poco songs with our band backing him up. It was just Rusty and Mary that came up. And he played some incredible slide guitar solos during our set. He could really rock that slide guitar, and he'd get up with us with America a lot at the end of our shows and do the encore with us over the years. And I mean, we shared the same managers back in the day with Poco, you know, Hartman and Goodman, and out of the Geffen Roberts management firm there, Lookout Management. And we played with Poco so much throughout the 70s and 80s and on, really. And I always remember a particular European tour in 1975. It was Rusty and Paul and George and Timothy then. And we went through England and Scotland and France and Germany, and it was an absolute blast. I'll never forget it. The last time I saw Rusty, as far as I can recall, and Mary, was relatively recently on a 70s music cruise, a cruise ship scene to Jamaica, and he was just as outgoing and friendly. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and always kind of excited and enthusiastic to play music. Every time I'd see Rusty, it was like, hey, man, how you doing? Well, you know, this is going to be fun, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. So, you know, it really feels to me truly like a disturbance in the force, you know, from those early days to lose Rusty Young. And I always related to the comments that Dorothy made in The Wizard of Oz when she returns to Kansas after she's been on her big experience in Oz, and she pointed at the farmhands and said, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there. And for me, Rusty was always there, and I'm already missing him, you know.
Yeah.
But as Henry Dilp says, our photographer friend, he's just gone over to the other side. So we'll see you there, brother Rusty.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Fantastic. Man, well, Dewey, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your memories. This tribute to Rusty Young. Where you at?
My pleasure, and thank you guys for doing this. It's a wonderful tribute, and Rusty would be proud, and it's great to hear you all. I'm going to go back and listen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dewey.
Thank you, Dewey.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
And they just keep coming. John Cowan.
Yes, sir.
You got your telephone handy. You're getting ready to call somebody else.
I got my phone working, baby.
We want to remind you all that we're on WKOM Front Porch Radio all around the world. FrontPorchRadioTN.com.
Now, are we in stereo here? Is this stereo?
I think we're in stereo.
So I'm on the left and he's on the right?
I think so. And Bill Lloyd is over there hiding behind the monitor. Bill Lloyd, just say hello while this telephone is being dialed.
George, good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you, Bill Lloyd, of Foster Lloyd and the Sky Kings. Bill Lloyd was in the Sky Kings with Rusty Young, with, of course, John Cowan, and, of course, Bill Lloyd and Patrick Simmons. Great,
I was
great
supposed to be
music.
in that band, but I didn't. What happened? I didn't show up.
I don't know. What happened, Bill?
I don't know. You know, that's one of those things we had a. We'll talk. I mean, if you want to talk about it, we can. It was like RCA Records, the head of the A&R department there, and the sort of main producer was Josh Leo at the time.
I remember Josh.
Josh and my old manager Ken Levitan, who used to also manage John. The idea was to put together not a full-time situation, but something to do for a little while. Kind of a Wilbury-ish sort of country rock band.
You mean Traveling Wilburys?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, and you know, where you get a bunch of people but kind of make it. And so there were a lot of lines cast out, but what we ended up with was great, which was John and Pat and Rusty and I, and we had such good fun, but you know,
it was a super group.
Yeah.
You know, the Sky, and I'm sitting right next to Bill Lloyd, so he might punch me for saying this, but the Sky Kings were kind of the big star of that particular group of, you know, they were this band that was probably deserving of a lot more success than what they actually achieved. But, you know, that they came out, you know, in roughly that same time window as Southern Pacific and Black Hawk and a lot of other bands that were kind of put together by guys who came to town from the rock and roll camp. Yeah. And they should have been much, much bigger than they were, because every musician in that band was a superstar. Yeah. And the record that they made, people should still be talking about it, but they're not, and it's a shame.
Well, you know, one of the members.
There are tens of people out there talking about it.
Well, including us, that makes an even dozen, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you know, one of the members of the band, of course, has hit the highest note ever possible to be sung. Of course, we're talking about John Cowan, and it's fun to bother him while he's dialing for Rusty.
I am
It's a Rusty
actually
Young
dialing
tribute.
for Rusty, and now we're going to call our friend Craig Fuller.
Yeah, now Craig Fuller was a co-founder of Pure Prairie League.
And he was also a member of Little Feat for many years.
Yeah.
He's an amazing songwriter, an amazing singer, and we're going to dial him up right here.
It's going to be good. And you are listening and watching.
And Sky Kings cut one of the songs that we wrote, too, with Craig.
The telephone is ringing. It's going to be good. Writing around the world on all kinds of platforms.
John.
Yeah.
How are you, bud?
I am good, Craig. Here's George Hamilton. He's going to chat you up, buddy.
I'm going to chat you up, Craig. I'm George Hampton V, and I'm the resident clown. And but
Hi, George.
Good to talk to you, man. So you and Little Feat and co-founder of Pure Prairie League, along with John David Carl and George Powell. And it's just exciting to have you on this show, our tribute to Rusty Young. Do you have a special memory you'd like to share with us?
Well, Rick Alter texted me the day after the event, and I said, "No, this can't be right. Not Rusty.
Yeah,
this is not right. Can I file a complaint? This is just." I hadn't seen him for 3 or 4 years, but when I saw him last time, he was just ready for anything. He was, road tempered and ready to go.
Yeah.
So that was it was the biggest shock since I woke up to hear John Lennon die. So it was just rough.
Yeah. Well, now, did you all tour together?
Well, I didn't meet Rusty face to face, I think, until 2001 or something, when we were doing the Pure Prairie League Firefall Poco thing, three acts. And I said, "Geez, it's so nice to meet you finally." And he would always remind me, he said, I played on your record in 1976.
All right.
Speaking of the leaves falling, like Jim was talking about, I was out of town, and Eric Kaz and George Martin were doing overdubs, a few final overdubs, and they brought Rusty in to play on our version of "Love Has No Pride."
Oh wow!
Yeah. So that's when I met him. He would always remind me, in the later years. And I would like to say that Rusty was my very favorite teller of music business tales.
Yeah.
He had one after another. Neil Young, David Geffen, Clive Davis. He had a story about everybody. It's almost as if he was working for Rolling Stone while he was playing all this music. It was just incredible.
He was.
And he was obviously a great person and very talented. So I am so sorry. And I hope that Mary will publish what he finished of his book.
Yes.
Because I would like to read it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We all would.
Well, great to have you on here, Craig Fuller. We're doing the Rusty Young tribute, and you have just added just a wonderful part to the show. We can't say enough about Rusty Young.
Yeah, and that was a heart-rending version of Crazy Love, you guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we love you, Craig, and thank you so much for calling in. Something means so much to everybody here.
All right. Take care. I'll listen to the rest of you guys.
All right. Bye,
all
Craig.
right.
Bye, Craig.
See ya.
We got a station ID here. We'll be right back.
This is Del Kennedy.
owner of Kennedy Broadcasting Company, operator of WKRM, historically 1340 AM, now 103.7 FM, and WKOM, 101.7 FM. We call ourselves Front Porch Radio, and I've said many times what that means. It means that we are working to connect this southern Middle Tennessee community, one listener, one relationship at a time. And let me elaborate on what that means. In this community, we will relentlessly promote jobs, commerce, business, industry, education, arts, green space, music, rivers, the great outdoors, healthcare, churches, charities, sports, and all the great people of southern Middle Tennessee. Join us, help us, call us. Front Porch Radio, Del Kennedy, thank you for listening.
This is Terry Wilcox, a.k.a. the Chicken Man, a.k.a. T-Willie, and you're listening to 101.7 FM WKOM, Columbia, Tennessee.
And we're back with Americana Central Time on WKOM Radio 101.7 FM in Columbia, Tennessee, and around the world on WKOMradio.com and on so many visual platforms through Facebook, on the Poco site. You can watch what's happening here at the studio today. We are Front Porch Radio, and tonight it's a front porch to the world. And now, someone who is sitting on the front porch with me, actually, it's a virtual front porch here. This man, Jack Sundrud, you're right across the desk from me.
I am. We're calling George Grantham.
George Grantham. George Grantham, you mean he's a drummer. You want a drummer?
He's the original drummer for Poco. And
you know, nobody really talks to drummers that much. We would talk to Rick Lonow for about 3 seconds.
I was honored.
George, are you there?
I'm here, man. I'm here.
Hey, George. Thank you for joining us.
Jack Sundrud on the line.
Thank you for having me.
You and Rusty go back a long ways.
Yes, sir.
So you were in kid bands together, correct?
We were in a band called the Benzie Creek in Denver, Colorado, yeah.
And when would that have been?
Oh, God, when was that? I was in my junior year in high school and in my senior year also, and then a couple of years after that. I can't remember what year that would have been.
Well, just back there in the 60s somewhere.
Yeah. But we were huge fans of Rusty's. We'd all heard Rusty play, and we just thought he was incredible, you know.
Yeah. Well, you got the call to go out and join him with Jim Messina and Richie Furay, correct?
Yes.
I'd like to say one thing. George, this is Jimmy Messina. How are you, George?
Hey, Jimmy, how you doing, man?
I'm good. One thing about George is that Rusty was the one who said, we needed a drummer. We figured Rusty could probably handle the guitar steel part. Right? We figured that he had that, but we needed a drummer. And it was Rusty who said, I have this drummer that I've worked with in a group called Bonsie Creek, which was George Grantham. So we brought George out, and not only did he sing, did he play drums well, but I had no idea that he could sing, and he sang all of those high parts. Wow. George, how did you ever get that high? Singing notes.
I was singing high parts you wouldn't believe. Stuff that the Hollies used to do. I was singing all the high parts and all that stuff,
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I always sang high.
Well, you really made it possible for us to get those. Well,
thank you. I appreciate it.
Those songs, man, up there where they needed to be.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
I'd just like to interject, George. This is John Cowan, and
yes, hi, John.
You're drumming on those, all the Poco records, but especially on the picking up the pieces, and then the second one, which I call the Orange Album. There's just some crazy ass. Amazing drumming going on there.
Did you know that
thank you.
Did you know? Hey, George, do you remember I came down to see you practicing at Studio Instrument Reels, and you were playing with Vince Gill? You remember that?
Yes.
He was just cooking with Vince too.
George did that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, George, if you have anything you'd like to add about Rusty, we'd love to hear from you.
I have something I wrote down. I'd love to add if I could. Yeah,
Please
I'd love to. Well, okay, here I go. This is it. Okay. Rusty and I go back a long way. I remember back to the Benzie Quick. That's a band we used to be in Denver, Colorado. And how excited we were to get Rusty in the band. We were only about 17 at the time. We just loved Rusty's steel guitar work. Then he got the call to play steel on a song for the Buffalo Springfield, Kind Woman. Later, when the Springfield was breaking up, Rusty recommended me to Richie for Poco. Those early years were very exciting, some of my best memories. Rusty wowed everyone with his steel guitar abilities. Then in his later years, he started writing songs, another side to his talents. Over the years, we had our ups and downs, but I wouldn't have changed a minute of it. Later, after I had my stroke, I had a stroke. As soon as I was up to it, Rusty had me back up on stage for guest appearances, making sure I felt remembered and important. Rusty played a huge part in my life, and I will always miss him and remember him well. That's it.
George, thank you.
That
was
George
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
George Grantham, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Legend.
Okay.
Man.
Thanks for being with us, George. God bless you.
Well, we are sending out a signal of love Americana style all around the world on Americana Central Time on WKOMradio.com. Now, if you're watching us right now, you may see Michael Webb sitting over there against the... Yeah. And is that Rick Lonow? He can wave.
That's Rick Lonow.
Tom Hampton over here.
Hey, man.
Bill Lloyd behind the computer screen.
Hello, Bill Lloyd.
Jack
everybody.
Sundrud. John Cowan. Jim Messina.
We would like to do a song now.
Are y'all going to do a song?
Somebody said, quit talking and start playing.
It's time for a song. Do it. Which one would this be?
We are going to do one of everyone's favorite Rusty songs, and this is called Roses Simmer On.
Oh, yeah. On Americana Central Time, Rusty Young Tribute.
In the key of G, boys.
Touch the sand and look to see who's standing. Waiting at your window, watching will they ever show.
Can you hear me calling? You know they have fallen on. Campfire's cold and dark, I've never seen a spark burn bright. Oh, rose of Cimarron. Dusty days are gone. Rose of Cimarron. Trails that brought them home, echo names they've known. 4 days high and lonely, coming to you only. You're the one they turn to, the only one they knew who do. All the best to be around when the chips were down. Rose of Cimarron. Dusty days are gone. Rose of Cimarron. One more time on the chorus. Rose of Cimarron. Dusty days are gone. Rose
Shadows touch the sand and look to see who's standing. Waiting at her window, watching will they ever show. That is the Poco Orchestra under the direction of Sir John Cowan. Oh, amazing. How do you do that, John? You're like Frank Sinatra when he would be directing the band, you know.
I don't know, baby.
Where's the Jack Daniels?
And so we had Jack Sundrud singing there along with Michael Kelsh. Now, Michael Kelsh, you were a friend of Rusty Young also.
I loved Rusty Young, yeah.
You brought all these album covers of Rusty Young, Poco.
Yeah, some of them are so, I've worn them out so much they're just gone.
Yeah, but it's amazing. I just saw you hand a pen to Jim Messina, and he was showing the
Well, he had the Deliverance album.
Yeah.
He produced that record and played all over that one.
Yeah. And we have our album cover changer who will be changing album covers as we go along. Album cover changer, what is your name?
My name's Madison Thorne.
Aha! Yeah. Well, it's all about the magic that happens with all the visuals here at WKOM. Love Americana Style. The signal's going all the way around the world. Live from Muletown, USA. Did you know this is Muletown, USA?
I did.
Columbia, Tennessee. Let's do it. One, two, three. Columbia, Tennessee. You can get your Columbia bumper sticker on the square at Variety Records.
Let's give Jeff Hanna of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band a call.
You're calling Jeff Hanna now?
Yes, I am, by golly.
And, oh, man, the
and
stars.
we're going to ask Jimmy if he wants to speak to Jeff.
Yeah. Jim Messina.
They're old friends. Here we go.
Yeah. Do we have a dial tone? We got the telephone ringing. On Americana Central Time, WKOM, Rusty Young Tribute.
Is this
Johnny?
Is this Jeff?
This is Jeff.
This is Jim Messina.
Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, very quickly, do you remember when I first saw you was back in at the Glendale Ice House? Do you remember that?
Oh, my gosh.
Those days?
That's right.
1966.
Oh, my God.
You were just a baby boy.
We was just little puppies.
We were. And when did you first meet Rusty?
I thinking, I remember when I actually have an acetate that you must have given me of, you can explain what an acetate is to everyone.
Yeah.
that you gave me of Kind Woman. And you were so excited about that.
Well, an acetate, for all of those who don't know that it's something other than a jackass, is an acetate is a lacquer disc that before you release a record, we would go. In fact, I was a mastering engineer, so we'd cut a dub of something, and it would cut the record first on an acetate. And apparently, I gave it to Jeff to take a listen to. and before it was ever released. Wow. So
I'm really glad you cleared that up because I thought you said acid tape.
Well, it might have been, you know.
Could have been.
Watch what you hope for. Man, can I just say how great this, you know, I've been actually watching you guys on the webcast, and it's great to see so many of my old buddies sitting there in the studio, and Jack and Jimmy and Bill Lloyd and Johnny Cowan, of course, and Mike Webb. Hey, buddy. Hey. You guys, oh man, this is, you know, I hate that it's occasions like this that bring us together and remind us how much we love our pals.
Yes.
Of course, we love Rusty so much, and I want to send my love out to Mary. I saw her sitting in the studio there. And, oh, God, you know, what a great cat. And these are wonderful stories. I mean, gosh, hearing George on the phone. George still sounds like he's, you know, 15 years old.
I know.
Grantham. And, yeah, holy cow. I mean, I got to say, as far as Poco goes, as Jimmy Messina just pointed out, you know, I actually knew, you know, our band had played a lot of dates with the Springfield back in '67 and '68. But when Springfield started splintering, and you know, I think I remember seeing the first time I saw Poco, I think, was at probably an open mic a hoot night at the Troubadour, which was kind of like, you know, club. It was our hangout, you know. It was our you know, where we all congregated.
Our Bluebird, but a little bit rowdier, wouldn't you say?
It was a lot rowdier than Bluebird. It was definitely our hang, and they just blew me away. I got to tell a story that, you know, that Rusty loved to tell. He would always remind me of this. The Dirt Band, we were a jug band when we started. We were an all-acoustic band from '66 until late '68, and the last run that we did at the Troubadour, you know, just to set this up, Poco was our opening act, and our band was like, I mean, I'm just going to say this out loud. We were going in a bunch of different directions. Again, we were still a jug band. We hadn't really made, you know, sort of reincarnated ourselves as a country rock band, which, because of Poco, you know, had in a large part, big influence on us. But those guys were going on stage and just killing it. I mean, Jimmy, you guys were like the Beatles to us. It was like I felt like I'm seeing history here. It was amazing. I mean, Grantham and, you know, and Richie, of course, and, you know, Jimmy, you and Richie and George and you know, Randy Meisner on the bass, and Rusty. I'd never seen anybody. Well, you know, he brought that rock and roll energy to the pedal steel. I think that was a real visual as well. You know, pedal steel players to that point weren't known as that wasn't a visual.
Yeah, they were like background guys.
They were kind of background guys.
They were the string section.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you got to pay attention when you're playing the pedal steel guitar. It's not like you can leap around unless you're Rusty, you know. And he would, you know, he'd get up and kick the stool. He had that whole Jerry Lee Lewis thing that he did.
Well, let's face it, he was a ham. He
was a ham, but man, the thing was, it you know, there's people that are sort of show busy, but he was, I mean, he meant it all. He was so genuine, and as a lot of folks have pointed out, you know, he brought such a great enthusiasm in the room every time he walked in. Well, let me finish my story, because I'm getting into Geezerville here. So we're watching these guys just, you know, whooping it up, running down the hall from the dressing room upstairs at the Troubadour, you know, getting on stage, just raising the roof, blowing the doors off the place. I mean, they're really loud, but in the best kind of way. And then we went out there with our washboards and kazoos. and I remember Rusty saying, yeah, you know, we blew you guys off stage so badly that you broke up, and we did. And I said, Rusty, I'm not going to give you all of the credit for that, but oh my gosh, you know, we laughed about it till the last time I saw him. And also just another continuation of the Poco, you know, effect on our band. We split up again because we were going through all these growing pains. We had different guys that were interested in sort of different genres of music, and I went to work for Linda Ronstadt, which was great training for me. I mean, to talk about country rock history. 6 months later, I ran into John McEwen at a Poco. Well, again, you guys, Jimmy, were you guys still Pogo back then? You were Pogo at the Troubadour.
Well, we started out as Pogo, but the moment we were getting ready to go on stage, Walt Kelly served us with a huge lawsuit. It was about like the New York phone book, and we decided. We looked up there and we said, let's change that G to a C.
I remember
and,
that.
As you can plainly see, we're Poco.
I know. Of course, we did with Poco. So so I ran into John McEwen, I think it was June or July of '69 at a Poco gig. And we looked at each other and it was like, let's get the band back. Let's get the band back together. Because everybody had a different take. The Burritos had, they had their deal. I thought was more sort of a honky tonk, straight country kind of take on it.
Absolutely.
Poco to me always had the Everly Brothers influence, and and even to me, like the Fab Four, it really had like an American Beatles thing to it, which I mean with great respect, by the way. And then our version of it, we had more of the mountainy influence with the fiddle and the banjo and the accordion. The accordion. Hey, Mikey. But the accordion, Jimmy Fadden's harmonica playing as well. We all brought something different to the dance. But if it hadn't been for the Springfield and Poco, the dirt band as we know it now certainly wouldn't have existed. And we owe a great debt of gratitude to all those folks. But Rusty, the last long conversation I had with him, we were our band and Poco and Firefall and Manassas were all inducted into the Colorado Music Hall of Fame a few years ago. And man, we had we had dinner together, Rusty and I, and it was just great catching up, man. There are certain friends in this life that you pick right up on the conversation you were having 7 years ago. You never miss a beat, and it's just it's really heartwarming for me to see all you guys. I miss every one of you. A bunch of hippies in that studio.
Yeah.
You got that right.
I'm right there with you, by the way.
Well, you're certainly in our hearts, and thank you, Jeff, so very much.
Johnny, thank you for asking me, man. I love you guys all so much.
Good to hear your voice.
The music's just killing me. It's just so great, beautiful. You guys are doing a great job, man.
Thank you.
I wanted to mention Rosa Cimarron, which, by the way, was my favorite Rusty Young song. Still is to this day. Matresa and I did a fundraiser with Emmylou Harris the other night at the City Winery, and when we were rehearsing a couple days prior, I said, she had not heard about Rusty's passing, and I said, could we do Rosa Cimarron? Because she had I think the best cover of that song.
Yes, I agree.
Gorgeous, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" So, we sent that one out to Rusty the other night. It's just so gorgeous. And you
Jeff,
guys just go ahead.
Jeff, you remind me. I was doing a James Burton benefit for children, and I asked Rusty if he would join me, and asked James if it'd be okay. So, Rusty and I went to do this show, and Lou was there performing, and she asked him if he would sit in, and so I'm sitting on the sideline and I'm listening to this performance, and suddenly Rusty his steel was there, and I just went, oh my God, it was such an incredible performance. And afterwards I said to Rusty, I said, wow, I said, have you heard that song before? I mean, he says, I never heard it before in my life. He said, it just played on it. And I went, I wanted to slap him in the face.
Because he could do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, so great. I will say one final. There's always a final thing. A few years ago, Bill Lloyd put together a round at the Bluebird with me and Matresa and Rusty and Bill. And I remember none of us wanted to follow Rusty because it would be like Crazy Love. And then Rosa Cimarron, I think we all put our guitars down and started to get up and leave the room after he played that, which he loved, by the way.
Of course he did.
It's sweet. What a sweet cat, man. in that impish grin, I still see it. He was like, he was the world's oldest 12-year-old kid. You know,
Exactly.
So great, a sweet cat. Miss him. Love you guys.
Love you, Jeff Hanna. Thank you so much.
Jeff Hanna from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. We're having too much fun here tonight on Americana Central Time. We want to say a special word of thanks to the one and only J.P. Plant, who's at the board tonight. How about a hand for J.P.?
And we also need to thank Tommy Lemon, who's here doing all the video and all the streaming.
And we also want to say a special hi to T. Willie. I think he's in the building. T. Willie normally rides with me. We're on the Americana Central Time show with Americana Ann every Sunday night. And on Thursday nights, we're actually on WKRM with the kids from down in Mount Pleasant Middle School in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. We do the Americana Central Time Kids on Stage, steam-powered radio hour. John Cowan, you're doing your hand motions. What was this one?
We're running behind, which
Oh, no,
doesn't
we're not.
really matter.
We're
because
catching up now, yeah.
Because we're in Muletown.
This is the very same
Muletown
room.
has its own sense of time.
I know, and this is the very same room where John Cowan, well, with the help of all of the people, but you rallied us all together to save the Muletown Rec Pool, John
I did.
Cowan.
Not just me, lots of people.
Well, I know that, but you had that musical inspiration. So now you were rallying us to move to.
We need to call Russ Paul.
We're going to call Russ Paul. Now, Russ Paul, I think, was in a band with Jack Sundrud.
Yes, he was. He was
So,
in
Jack,
Great Plains with me.
tell us a bit about Great Plains
And
and
then
Russ
we'll
Paul.
let you
that day.
talk to Russ.
Yeah.
Okay. A bit about Great Plains?
Yes.
Well, we were a short-lived country rock band.
But long-lived in my mind. You're fantastic. And long hair. You had long hair, too.
We had really long hair.
Yeah.
Short-lived,
Short-lived, but long hair.
I actually asked them if I didn't mind if I cut it. And they said,
Do you
no.
think you were so short-lived because your hair was so long?
No, I don't. I think we were short-lived because we just didn't have the right thing at the right time.
I think you did. They just weren't ready.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. You're ahead of your time, and you're right here on Americana Central Time now.
All right, it's time for dial-in for Rusty. Here we go. We're going to call up Mr. Russ Paul and let Jack talk to him.
That's right. Now, we have John Cowan is dialing the number. You could almost hear it like, click, click. There it is.
Hey, this is Russ. Leave me a message.
That's going to happen occasionally if you're running late.
Wait a minute. Let me give you another number.
We got another number. Now, we have Michael Kelsh who's going to tell us a
Give
few
me the
things.
other number.
Michael Kelsh, what about telephones? Do you like them a lot?
I don't know much about telephones. I can tell you about the first time I saw Poco.
Tell me about the first time you saw Poco.
It was 1972.
Wow.
I had just turned 17 that summer. It was in August. It was the Peachtree celebration.
Yeah. Did you actually play with Poco at the Franklin Theater?
I did, yes, I did. I got to play with him. I got to play Jack's bass, and I got to play some acoustic guitar on some
Did that
stuff.
blow your mind to think?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Yes, I was a Poco there for just a moment there.
Yeah. And the first time you saw them, what did you think?
Oh, it was the best band in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I moved to Nashville, following your coattails, George Hamilton V.
We got to interrupt your speech now.
Okay, good.
Is that Russ? Are you there?
Okay. Keep on going.
Okay, let me say
I'll tell you
let me
this.
say something. Let me say something here. Russ Paul, if you're out there listening, I apparently don't have your right phone number. Text me your phone number. I'm so sorry, man.
We're having so much fun here tonight. This actually takes a new spin.
But here's the good news.
We're going to save time.
No, no, we don't care about time, obviously.
That's right.
If you've heard us play.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's call Steve Fishell.
We're going to call you. Oh, yeah.
The legendary.
Yeah, man, oh, man.
Steve Fishell and I go
Steve
by.
Fishell, now, I was reading about Steve. He and Commander Cody, they opened for Led Zeppelin. I believe at the Glastonbury Festival or something like that. You know, you see how
Here
the
we go,
steel guitar
George.
inspired
10,
everybody.
9,
7.
8.
We hope it works this time.
Steve Fishell, pick up your phone.
Well, hey, I'll be Russ Paul's sub anytime. Anytime.
Mr. Steve.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? It's so great to hear everybody's voice.
Yeah.
Jimmy Messina, it's great to hear your voice.
Ah, it's great to hear yours. I apologize. We've been here for 2 years, and I still haven't called you. And I.
Well, you just did.
Then a pandemic hit. That's all right.
Then a pandemic hit is exactly right.
Yeah, that's right. And John Cowan, thank you for calling me for this. I'm just so honored. And Bill Lloyd, Mike Webb, how you doing? Jack Sundrud.
Hey,
yeah.
Everybody, it's great to hear your voice. And of course, Mary Young, I want to send my love out to you and to the entire family, and of course to all the Rusty's bandmates in Poco. He was just an incredible guy. I had a whole speech, and I've just, after Jeff Hanna, who wants to follow Jeff Hanna? So I've already wadded it up and thrown it out, but I just wanted to get a couple of points across if I could.
Please.
Rusty was my hero. I wouldn't be a steel player if it wasn't for Rusty Young. That's plain and simple. I mean, my brother Mike turned me on to Poco in 1970, and there was just no turning back. I saw them in Santa Monica at the Santa Monica Civic in October of '71. I was just stunned. I mean, Rusty was doing Jimi Hendrix on the pedal steel, and and then of course he'd play something like Bad Weather or Good Feeling to Know. I mean, he was such a subtle player. He had his own style and his own sound. He always sounded like Rusty Young. And when Richie sang Colorado Mountains, I Can See Your Distant Sky, and you listen to what Rusty plays behind Richie at that moment, it's just incredible. It's like the tastiest stuff, the most soulful vibrato. When I get lost, when I'm really, having a pedal steel slump, I just go and listen to something like that, or Bad Weather, or Honky Tonk Downstairs, and he brings me out of my slump every time.
I forgot about that song.
Rusty's tone, man, it was just insane. I've got a story I've got to tell. And I haven't told too many people this one. I went to see Poco in '74 at UCSB. I was a student there. And, it was a fantastic concert. And afterwards, I didn't have any credentials or anything. I was just a student, but I wanted to see if I could meet my hero, Rusty Young. So I positioned myself backstage at the back door. And, there were guards there like the size of refrigerators. You know how it is at concerts. And Rusty walked past, and I called his name out, and he said, really cheerfully, hey, how you doing? And I introduced myself, and I said, do you have time to talk shop about steel guitar? And I'm this naive 20-year-old kid. And he said, well, I'm kind of tied up right now, but I'll come back in a bit. So I thanked him, and I just started waiting. I waited 10 minutes, and then I waited 15 minutes, and 20 minutes went by, and I'm starting to wonder. And then suddenly the door opens up, and Rusty pops through the door with that big smile of his. He came back,
Wow.
and it blew my mind. The kindness of the guy. We had a nice chat, but I didn't really realize what an imposition that was. For someone of because you have a hometown gig like that, you've got family there and whatnot, and it's asking a lot. But it was when I became a professional, I just realized, wow, this is tough doing these hometown gigs, with family and everything. And I just learned an important lesson from Rusty about, be nice to people, don't take yourself too seriously. And he became like a role model to me in that way. So I always looked up to him, not only for his playing, but for the kind of person he was. He was just so kind, Jim, you know what I'm talking about. And he was just the sweetest.
I do. He was, for me, back in the days, I was just looking at this album that someone asked me, to autograph of Deliverance.
Yeah.
We ended up releasing that album, some of those songs on an album called Forgotten Trails in 1989. And Rusty and I were sitting in Columbia Studios, and we were listening to the record, and I realized that he and I together had just played some incredible parts. I mean, I realized now how much energy we created together, and how he would do a solo, and then I would do a part like on. I think somebody had mentioned something. Didn't you mention some sort of instrumental today, John? When we were, what was
hey,
that?
listen,
It's
man,
called Grand Junction.
Oh, Grand Junction.
Grand
yes.
Junction.
We played that. We played that song in Newgrass Revival.
Yeah.
That you
was,
two are tearing it up on that, Jimmy. It's just extraordinary.
I could never do that again now, I don't think. I mean,
well, I've tried to duplicate Rusty's solo on that for 50 years, and it still ain't happening.
Yeah,
I mean, he's on fire. It's just such an original style that he had, and it just inspired me so much. I just owe him everything. He's just, like I said, such a hero. And then I felt really lucky, and in 2011 I was honored when he invited me to partner with him to help bring Poco Nuts into the Sound Emporium studios in Nashville to record All Fired Up. It was really an honor to be there, and the attendees covered his recording expenses, and we just had an absolute blast hanging out with him. And George Grantham was there, and Dan Dugmore came in to speak, and I'll always cherish that time that we spent together. So listen, thank you for inviting me to this. It's just been wonderful.
It's so good hearing your voice, and thank you for reminding me of all the special moments he helped to bring out of me too as a player.
What an honor! Thank you, everybody, so much for doing this. The Poco Orchestra is rocking the house.
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
All right, how about a hand for
Thank you, Steve Fishell.
Steve,
Right.
we love you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Man, we're having so much fun here at Americana Central Time. WKOM 101.7 FM. We're going to go to a commercial of the actual word station ID, and we'll be right back with more Americana Central Time on WKOM.
Visit your local Buick and GMC dealership first for new or pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Parks Motor Sales. At Parks, professional sales staff makes shopping easy. Buick and GMC financing can put you in the vehicle you want, and certified technicians keep vehicles running great. Experience the new Buick at Parks Motor Sales. Go online to parksmotorsales.com. Find your favorite vehicle, then stop by Parks at 919 Nashville Highway for a test drive. Parks GMC. We are professional grade.
Hello, I'm Barbara Lincoln with Holland's Pharmacy. You may have heard our previous commercials about compression hosiery that we carry at Holland's Pharmacy. Well, we've recently expanded into a full line of knee braces, back, wrist, ankle, and other support wear. We will gladly help you get just the right fit for these items and, of course, special order items to ensure the proper fit. Come see us at Holland's Pharmacy, 1608 Hatcher Lane, or call us at 931-388-4233. 388-4233.
American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is built to a higher standard, so you can focus on the problems in your life that actually matter, like the stair that only creaks when everyone else in the house is asleep. American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, built to a higher standard.
Call Davis Heating and Cooling at 931-388-2090 for all your home comfort needs. Davis Heating and Cooling is your local American Standard dealer and proudly serves the Murray County area. Find Davis Heating and Cooling online and on Facebook, or call today, 388-2090.
Are you thinking about a new fence? Maybe you need a pole barn. Then you should give Sands Fence Company a call. That's 931-309-1644. Will Sands has built his business based on the principles of honesty, quality, and integrity. Sands Fence Company has been in business for over 20 years, providing the community with farm, residential, and commercial fencing, as well as pole barns and buildings. Call today for a free estimate. Sands Fence Company, 931-309-1644. 931-309-1644.
This is Terry Wilcox, a.k.a. The Chicken Man, a.k.a. T-Willie, and you're listening to 101.7 FM WKOM, Columbia, Tennessee.
And we're back at Americana Central Time, live from beautiful downtown Columbia, Tennessee, on WKOM Radio. You just heard the voice of T. Willie. I want to remind you that T. Willie made us a batch of his wonderful T. Willie peanut butter cookies for the show tonight. How about a hand for T. Willie? I believe he'll be up with T. Willie's Newtown Mix after Americana Central Time tonight. We are having so much fun. I'm going to pass the cookies around. John Cowan. John Condon is listening, I believe, right now.
I'm trying to get good, thank you.
You know, we want to say hello.
You say John Condom?
No. Oh, no. I'll tell you what. We're having so much fun here at Front Porch Radio, WKOM in Columbia, Tennessee. This is just a special thing. It's a Rusty Young tribute. And we got his friends, his bandmates, everybody sharing memories. We got music.
I am literally wearing one of Rusty's shirts.
John Cowan.
Mary gave me one of his shirts. He loved gray long sleeve shirts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How about
Rusty
a
Young
hand
model.
for Mary Young and Rusty Young? And for John Cowan in the shirt. Now, John,
Yes.
you reminded me that we also are a musical show.
We are a musical show.
Now, this is a song that we have a musical man who's getting ready. Will he lead us through this song? Or is it after a phone call?
Well, we're going to talk to a legendary steel player, Russ Paul, and he's on the line right now.
You actually got in touch with him?
Yes, we did. Russ, hey, it's Jack.
Hey,
Sorry
Jack.
about that. We got a good
Oh,
laugh
yeah.
out of it anyway. Russ is an old friend. He was with me in that band, Great Plains, that George mentioned. We were a Poco-inspired country rock band back in the early 90s. And Russ has gone on to be the hardest working steel player in the world. One of them.
Right. Yeah.
How you doing, Russ?
I'm working hard. I'm working hard.
We can tell.
Yeah. Well, you guys sound like you're having a lot of fun there.
We are.
That's good.
So, Russ, you've told me that Rusty was a real strong influence on you.
Oh, major. Poco came along. Well, actually, Kind Woman came along right about the time I was starting to play steel. So he has heavily influenced me. And I just have two short things to say about Rusty. First off, as a steel player, I think he stands tall among all of the great steel players of the world, that great generation. He's second to none. And as a rock and roll steel player, he stands alone as the greatest and the biggest inspiration. And he had the true rock and roll spirit, which is rare among steel guitarists.
Yeah.
So, and I thought he looked cool. So.
He definitely looked cool.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Anyway.
So, yeah, I could go on. I didn't really know him that well, but I knew his playing really well.
Yeah.
Studied it hard.
So I have a question for you. This is Jimmy Messina.
Okay. Hey.
So the C neck, the one that he had to play because his steel was busted. Tell us about that neck and the tuning. And now that you are a professional, you can look back on that solo and be able to give us some insight as to what do you think he was doing inside of that, knowing that he wasn't sure what he was playing and how he went from one note to another.
Yeah, aren't the pedals backwards or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, the pedals are different. I just think he had really good instincts, and he just laid his hand on it, and I can't even begin to figure out what he was playing on that song. It was just it was almost like this great stream of consciousness. And that's I think what makes it so special.
As the producer, when I heard that, I had a choice to make. This doesn't sound country.
Right.
Should I keep this? Should I not keep it? And I remember thinking just exactly what you said. This feels like a stream of consciousness, and I don't know that we would ever get something like this again,
Well, Rusty to me never sounded like he was playing steel guitar licks. He sounded like he was playing music.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. And that's as good as it gets because it's a very lick-oriented instrument, and he played over the top of all of that. So.
Yeah.
So.
I think about I think Russ what he played on Anyway Bye Bye.
Yeah.
And he just starts playing this crazy ass wah-wah guitar. Jimmy's playing it right now.
Right, yep.
You think of the solo on that. I remember the first time I heard it, Russ, I thought, is somebody playing a slide guitar with a wah-wah and a Leslie? And it took me a while to realize it was Rusty doing it on the steel.
Yep.
Just crazy.
Well, he managed to get all the spit and snarl out of that country instrument to play rock and roll, and he also could carry large weights with it, which is a big part of being a great rock musician, and so, that's what's so rare about him because not many people do that, especially on that instrument.
Plus
I've been trying hard for years.
Plus he had
ain't even
cojones.
close. So.
He did have cojones.
He had
Musical
cojones.
cojones.
So.
Well, Russ, thank you so much for calling in. We so greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. I've enjoyed this. This is great. Just
Thanks,
keep it
Russ.
going, guys.
Good talking to you, Russ.
All right. Take care.
God
Bye-bye.
bless.
Russ Paul on our Rusty Young tribute here on Americana Central Time. Man, oh man, it was just having so much fun. The man coming up now has been a rocker. He's been a country rocker. He's been blind and feeling the elephant. It's so interesting because we're actually in Nashville's big backyard, and Hohenwald is where Debbie Landers, who is the executive director of the Nashville's Big Backyard, is. And Homeward is where the elephant sanctuary is. You can
That's
actually,
right.
while you're watching us, keep watching. But after the show, look at elephants.com, I believe, is the website. You can watch the elephants on. They have these live cams on 24 hours a day. Sometimes they hide at nighttime because elephants have things that they let you do. So. But Bill Lloyd, were you thinking about the elephant sanctuary when you were talking about feeling the elephant?
You know what? I've been asked whether it was a Reaganomics song or whatever. I've been asked all kinds of questions. It's a Hindu proverb about the blind man and the elephant.
Yeah.
And how one is describing the trunk, one describes the tail.
Yeah.
One describes and you know, and in the end it's the elephant's too big for them to get an accurate description. And I just thought that was a good life term. I actually got the phrase from Rodney Dillard of the Dillards who said that, and I said, oh, that could be a song. That could be a song. He goes, well, you write it.
Yeah.
So I did.
Well, now, okay, so you have not had a chance yet. I don't believe you describe Rusty Young for a second. Or do you want to sing first and then describe Rusty Young?
I'll talk about him for just a minute
Yeah.
because it was such a thrill. I got to meet Rusty when Radney Foster and I were doing Foster and Lloyd. Yeah. And we were sharing a gig with Vince Gill in some rodeo in Oklahoma, you know, some dusty rodeo, and we're out there, and Vince goes, "Did you guys know that Rusty Young is playing steel with me today?" And I went, "What?" You know, I was a big Poco fan. I'd seen him a couple times in the early days. Jimmy, I saw you with him once, and then I saw a later version without Richie and just the four of them. But anyway, that's beside the point. I was so thrilled to get to meet Rusty, and he knew our records, and so we talked about getting together to write, which we did. We wrote a song called Rough Edges that was on the Poco Legacy reunion record. And Rusty and I continued to write songs during that period. And that's how the Sky Kings kind of came about, was through you know, a manager, head of A&R at RCA, and me and Rusty talking about putting a band together. So that's how that happened.
Right. Now, the Sky Kings, of course, had you, Rusty Young, John Cowan, and Pat Simmons.
Patrick Simmons of the Dewey Brothers.
Yeah.
And you know, it was 5 years of trying to make something happen, and country radio on two different labels just did not go for it, and it was unfortunate. We spent a lot of time, but the good thing was we made some good music. We had some great gigs, and we remained good friends.
Are you all available on Rhino Records now?
Well, Rhino put out the Warner Brothers stuff.
Okay.
Really nice package on that, and that was only they only manufactured like 3,000 of those. But I'll tell you, the stuff that we recorded for RCA, 10 of the 12 tracks are out digitally in a package called 1992.
Yeah.
And then Sony, if you go online, you can find it.
Yeah. Well, that's what really makes, you know, good music even more fun, if you have to find it. You know.
I like the way you think.
It's more fun.
Let's roll up into some music here. What do you say,
well,
Bill
one of the many songs that you know, I got to play with Rusty doing a lot of songwriter in the rounds when he was still living here in Nashville. We would do things at the Bluebird together, and this is one of my favorite songs. I worked in a record store when this record came out and played it all the time, and I couldn't believe later I got to, you know, sing it with him. And anyway, it's one of my favorites. It's called Spellbound.
Bill Lloyd and other Poco folks.
Someone's taking the intro in there, or not? 1, 2, 3, and...
There's an easy evening breeze moving softly through the trees. I feel my head begin to reel. Can't explain how I feel. Now the moonlight is falling around her. Don't you know that tonight is the night for surrender? Can't you see it coming
got me hanging by a heartbeat, burning in the evening heat. She takes me there and leaves me breathless, starry eyes satisfied. When you're burning the bridges behind you, don't you know that smoke can begin to blind you? Can't you see it coming down? Just holding you spellbound,
Where's Michael Kelsh?
Now the moonlight is falling around her. Don't you know that tonight is the night for surrender? Can't you see it coming down? She's holding you spellbound, spellbound. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. She's holding on to me. Man, oh man.
Bill Lloyd.
Voice of Bill Lloyd and that
Lloyd.
flaming
Michael Kelsh.
guitar of Bill Lloyd there at the end. Man, oh
What do you
man.
say, boys? Let's call Hawaii.
We're going to call somebody right. We'll remind y'all that we're right here in Muletown, USA. There's a place called the Mule House that Blair Garner is putting together just about a block away from here. This type of show would go over great at this venue. I think it seats about 500 people, and they're all right there on the front row at the Mule House over by the James K. Polk House in beautiful downtown Columbia, Tennessee.
All right, let's call Aloha.
We're going to call all the way over to Hawaii.
And we're going to call Hawaii, and our dear friend Bill Lloyd is going to talk to his dear friend and our dear friend Patrick Simmons.
Wow.
So here we go.
Now, Patrick, of course, with the Dewey Brothers, and also with the Sky Kings. The phone is ringing.
Hello.
Hey, Pat, it's Bill Lloyd.
Please leave your message at the tone.
You're on the radio, my friend.
How's it going out there?
We're having a big old time here, and the spirit of Rusty is among us. And we've had...
I've been watching. It sounds great, man.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So John's left it up to me to talk to you about your memories of getting to know Rusty and work with us in the Sky Kings and all the above.
Great.
You probably did shows with Rusty.
Great job on that song, Bill.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, I got to take that in for a second. Thank you. Now, you probably knew Rusty even way before the Sky Kings, right? Didn't the Doobies and Poco do some things together at some point?
You know, am I on?
You're on. You're on.
I'm on. Oh, geez.
I think the Muse concert's in New York, right?
When I was in college, a friend of mine took me aside and said, "Have you heard this album?" And it was the first Poco album, and I listened to it, and it was that era when the Byrds were. I think it was even before the Sweetheart of the Rodeo, if memory serves. I can't remember exactly, but Dillard and Clark and the Burrito Brothers and all that, sort of country rock was happening. And I was kind of a roots player myself. I played in bluegrass bands and stuff. And I heard that record, and it was like, well, it's country, but it's got electric guitars, and it reminds me of it's a rock and roll album, but it was something new, and so I really thought it was, I really gravitated to that music, and so I listened to it a lot and held that music really close, and then years later, when I got into the Doobies and we went on the road, we actually were booked to play some shows with Poco, and I remember the first gig, I went out to watch them play, and it wasn't country rock, it was rock, and I think at that point the band, they knew they were going to be playing with some other rock bands, so they really rocked, and I'm looking up there, and here's Rusty playing his steel through, really loud through a big amp and distortion and, psychedelic lights and everything, and pretty soon he's like on the floor and the steel's on top of him, and he's ripping away, and I was like, oh my God, is he okay?
Yeah, there are pictures of that, right?
And they slayed anyway. It was like really, really great. And went and talked to him afterwards, and we just kind of chatted a little bit and told him how much I dug it, the band and how great they played, and that kind of started our little friendship. And then, years later, we played a lot of shows actually through the years, and we would always sit and talk at some point during the evening. And then years later, he called me and said, we got this thing going in Nashville, and we're looking for some other guys to participate. Would you be interested? And I said, of course, So that, was actually, I think we were going to be four-wheel drive at that point, but we couldn't use that name because there was another four-wheel drive, right?
Yeah, we did that.
And then, I met
tour that summer.
All of, you, Bill, and John as well, and it really was it was a great band and a wonderful experience, and I think we made a great record. I think there was some difficulty with the label. I think Josh got in a fight with the guy from the label or something. Anyway, they shelved us, but what a great experience for me, to be in that band and some of the greatest music in my life. Really great memories and great music, and Rusty was kind of for me, Bill and Rusty were the guys, I really looked up to them as musicians, and as far as guitar was concerned. And Rusty was more than just a steel player. He was a killer guitar player and a great dobro player and a great banjo player, a great writer, a great singer. He kind of did it all. So I was like, really. I felt like when Rusty was in the room, man, I really wanted to bring it. Whatever I was going to offer up as far as parts or songs. Rusty was like, he set the bar for me personally. So
he elevated the room for everybody, I believe.
He really did. Rusty was. Everybody kind of, I think, probably sees Rusty in a certain light. He was in that Poco mode, but Rusty was so much more than, just I don't want to say a pop musician, but that kind of, it was a popular form of music. Rusty was a great bluegrass guy. I mean, I always think of bluegrass as kind of the jazz of country, if you will, because of the solos, the excursions, solo.
A lot of virtuosity in the playing.
Yeah, a lot of that, and Rusty could keep up with everybody. There was, I would watch him play, and in the studio, and he was doing live solos, and just amazing guy, amazing player. So
yeah,
can't say enough about him.
It was.
I want to say hey to Mary too. I never met you, Mary, but I feel like I know you, and thank you for sharing Rusty with the rest of us. He really brought so much into our life.
Hey, Patrick, this is Jimmy Messina. How are you? Hello? Did we lose?
And I want to say thanks to John for putting this thing together. I feel like you kind of really did it, John. You really made it happen. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Pat.
Got John.
Jim Messina wants to say howdy to you there, Pat.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, Jimmy.
How you doing, brother?
Doing okay. Miss all you guys.
I know. We miss you, too. I hope we can soon get these airplanes working so that we don't have to, catch rabies every time we get on a flight. But, I wanted to say something to compliment what you said, is that I had the privilege of having Rusty sit in with me on an album called In the Groove, and we recorded 2 concerts. One was at the Clark Center, and the other one was at the Libero. And, he was wanting to do a solo record, and, he was just not knowing whether we should. I said, look, why don't you do this? You got Poco, just come out and do a few shows and do some of your solo tunes. And I gave him a little spot there, to come in. I didn't want him to open. I wanted him to come in about 3 or 4 songs in and do a song, leave the stage, and let him, do what exactly you were talking about and what he could do. So it was during those recorded concerts that there was a record executive sitting in the audience from Blue Elan. And he calls me up about 2 or 3 weeks later, and he says, I think I may have gotten a record deal. And I said, that's fantastic. And so from that particular, experience that he had came this wonderful album, My Friend, that's out. And I'm just so glad that he had that opportunity to finally be seen by somebody who would take the risk and do something. And his guys, Poco guys here, were there to help him and back him up, and it's a great album.
Yeah, no one deserved it more. He was such a incredible writer, and his singing was truly unique. As soon as he opens his mouth to sing, you know it's Rusty Young.
Yep. Although when he did that song called Neil Young, I wasn't sure who I was listening to.
That was a funny one.
Well, Pat, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you calling in and being a part of this.
Thanks for letting me be involved. I really thought so much of Rusty, and it's been kind of hard to think of it, the way it is. It's he's just on the other side, though, so I know we're gonna all be together soon.
Yeah.
Not soon, but
Eventually.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pat.
That's
so
what
much.
the Irishman said. May the good Lord take a liking to you, but not too soon.
That's right.
That's great.
All right, Patrick. Thank you so much.
All right.
Hey, thanks, you guys.
Bye,
Take
Pat.
care.
We have Patrick Simmons here on Americana Central Time. We're going to be right back after a station ID with more of our tribute to Rusty Young on WKOM.
Okay, it seems to me what you guys think.
This is Del Kennedy, owner of Kennedy Broadcasting Company, operator of WKRM, historically 1340 AM, now 103.7 FM, and WKOM, 101.7 FM. We call ourselves Front Porch Radio, And I've said many times what that means. It means that we are working to connect this southern Middle Tennessee community, one listener, one relationship at a time. And let me elaborate on what that means. In this community, we will relentlessly promote jobs, commerce, business, industry, education, arts, green space, music, rivers, the great outdoors, healthcare, churches, charities, sports, and all the great people of southern Middle Tennessee. Join us, help us, call us. Front Porch Radio, Delk Kennedy, thank you for listening.
This is Terry Wilcox, a.k.a. The Chicken Man, a.k.a. T-Willie, and you're listening to 101.7 FM WKOM, Columbia, Tennessee.
Welcome back to Americana Central Time, a very special edition of Americana Central Time on WKOM Front Porch Radio, a tribute to Rusty Young. We have this thing here. Now, wait a minute, John. I thought we were going to have a spontaneous song. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, we could have a spontaneous song.
Wait a minute. This is a special part of our show. We call it Spontaneous Song.
Let's do Keep On Trying. What do you
Yeah. Now, we've got people listening all over the world and watching online. How many people are watching, Michael Kelsh? Did you say 10 billion?
No.
Yes, he did. Everybody send in a penny. Send a penny.
Spontaneous song
We're
session.
going to do a spontaneous song.
Here in the Muletown Pickin' Parlor at
We're going to ask
WKOM.
Mr. Tom Hampton to sing one for us. Here we go.
I've been thinking about all the times you told me you're so full of doubt, you just can't let it be. But I know if you keep on coming back for more, keep on trying, keep on trying. Now I've been drinking now just a little too much, and I don't know how I can't get in touch with you. Now there's only one thing for me to do, is to keep on trying, get home to you. And I feel so satisfied when I can see a smile. I want to confide in all that is true, so I keep on trying. I'm through with lying, just like the sun above, I'll come shining through. Oh yes, I'll keep on trying. I'm tired of crying. I got to find a way to get on home to you. Now I've been thinking about all the times you held me. I never heard you shout. The flow of energy was so fine. Now I think I'll lay it on the line and keep on trying to get home to you. And I feel so satisfied when I can see a smile. I want to confide in all that is true, so I'll keep on trying. I'm through with lying, just like the sun above, I'll come shining through. Yes, it will, yes, I'll keep on trying. I'm tired of crying. I got to find a way to get on home to you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. John Cowan, you've got the telephone in your hand.
I do, and I'm going to call our dear friend.
Who?
Bruce Bouton, legendary steelist.
Man, Bruce Bouton is unbelievable. What a steel player. First time I met him, I was recording with Bill Lloyd, Foster and Lloyd. And, of course, did I see Bruce? Was he touring with y'all, Bill?
Yeah, totally.
Pardon me?
Nothing.
All right. Well, we got the telephone. Is it ringing?
I think it's ringing.
Now,
Hello?
is
There
this
he
Bruce
is.
Bouton?
Hold on. I'm there. Hello.
Hello.
He's coming.
We're calling you from Americana Central Time. It is a tribute to Rusty Young. I'm George Hamilton. Last time we talked about Cadillacs. Do you still drive Cadillacs, Bruce?
I haven't had a Cadillac for a long time. I had a Cadillac once, and I parked it off the street,
All right.
the Cadam house, and some guy literally came off the road and ran into the back of it, and that was the end of my Cadillac.
That's terrible.
Man, oh man. Well, what are your favorite things about Rusty Young?
Well, I mean, I need to, first of all, I need to say hello to everybody.
Yes.
Everybody there. I see so many of my friends there, and I see a couple of my heroes. Mr. Jim Messina. I've been such a fan forever.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. But I've got, it was great to see Bill there and to hear the story about that rodeo gig with Vince, because I played with Foster and Lloyd for a year.
Were you with us on that show, Bruce?
I was there on that show, and
Okay.
I think I was more excited than you were to meet Rusty Young.
I don't know. You maybe so. I mean, yeah. But
does
I
play
was
rodeo.
definitely excited. Let's not play that down.
All right. Well, we're not gonna. We'll talk about this later. But
Another show.
I grew up in Washington D.C. with a bunch of geeks, and like I can still remember the room I was in the first time I heard For What It's Worth, and I became this huge Buffalo Springfield fan. And so then Kind Woman came out, but we were so geeky up there, and we had this incredible radio station called WHFS.
Mm-hmm.
It was underground radio. And so we would always watch what happened when Buffalo Springfield broke up. It was kind of like devastating. So we wondered what everybody was going to do. And I heard about Poco. And of course I wasn't playing. I was a drummer then. I was a singer a little bit, but didn't even know about steel. But I'll never forget, WHFS DJ came on. I believe it was a guy named Surf. And he said, Poco is playing at the Ark, and it's got Jim Messina, it's got Rusty Young, who played the great Steel and Kind Woman, and they're playing this show, and they do this song called Honky Tonk, in the bar, Honky
Downstairs.
Tonk. Yeah, the Honky Tonk, that barmaid in the Honky Tonk downstairs.
Well, it won't be long now.
And he said that song was originally recorded by George Jones, and they played the George Jones version, and that was the first time I'd ever heard George Jones. But anyway, we went from that. I didn't get to see him at the Ark, but they came back and they headlined in 1970 at McDonough Arena in Georgetown. And I went out and saw him, and it blew my mind because Russ Paul said it. Rusty Young was a rock star. And I'd never seen anything like it. And I still hadn't even thought about playing steel guitar at the time. I was 16, 17 years old. And but he got up there and they played, and he played through a Leslie, which you can hear. John, you were talking about Anyway Bye Bye and the Wah Wah Slide solo he played in the middle of the song. But all those organ comps,
right?
It was Rusty playing through a Leslie.
That's right.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure
You're absolutely right.
And then Bad Weather, I'm sorry, you guys still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, all my technology's falling apart. I'm gonna just talk on the speakerphone. But he was just, he was an amazing player, and I love Poco. I was really enamored as much with George Grantham as I was Rusty, because I was still a drummer and a singer, and he sang all those high parts, and it was the greatest thing in the world when I was playing with Ricky Skaggs and George joined the Ricky Skaggs band.
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe it. Because this was all my DNA, because I knew about Poco and Graham and the Burritos and everybody long before I knew about Lloyd Green and Buddy Emmons and George Jones and Conway Twitty. So when I moved to Nashville, that was what I grew up on. And then I came here and started really immersing myself in country music, and I was kind of thinking about all this, and I remember when I was lucky enough to get to work with Bill Lloyd and Radney Foster in Foster and Lloyd, and we cut a song called Sure Thing.
Yeah.
And I think I was I was attempting. That was my feeble attempt at trying to channel Rusty Young, on that song, because I remember that song had such a Beatles Poco feel to it, But he was great. He was the master of harmonics, and anybody who's listening doesn't know what harmonics on a steel guitar. It's an art form to really get great harmonics, and probably a great example of his harmonic ability was that song "In the Heart of the Night."
Yeah.
Do 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 do, and it was a guitar, but it was amazing. These harmonics were really leading the charge on that tune.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, I mean, I could keep going on and on. He was such an influence.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
Bruce, from all of us here and from Mary, and everybody at the
Good to
radio
meet you,
station,
Mary.
thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time. We love you so much, and thanks for calling in, brother.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. I'm honored. There's so many great people. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye, Bruce.
Bruce Bouton on the Rusty Young Tribute. You are listening to Americana Central Time on WKOM. This show is so big.
It's huge.
It is so huge. It could only happen on WKOM live from Columbia, Tennessee. Around the world on WKOMradio.com. John,
We are running so far behind.
but we're having so much fun.
We are. I just hope that our people that are waiting for us to call them
Yes, they're away.
don't hang up on us.
We should get a hold of the next.
That makes it even
I
more
think
exciting.
I agree with Jimmy. So let's call Dan Dugmore. What do you think?
Yeah. Man, oh man, Dan Dugmore. And he played with Linda Ronstadt. He played with James Taylor. He's everywhere.
Warren Zevon, everybody.
Wow. Influenced by the
One of my
Flying Burrito
favorite solos
Brothers.
ever on Blue Bayou.
Oh, yeah.
Now, okay,
Forget
so
about it.
Sneaky Pete is the one who sold Dan his first steel guitar, I believe, or introduced him to it, is what I'm seeing on the Wikipedia. Now it all makes sense.
Okay, well, now we're ringing.
Lonow, you said it straight earlier.
Dialing for Rusty. Here
Dialing
we go.
for Rusty, John Cowan.
Dan Dugmore should appear, and you're going to talk to him because you love him.
I do.
Oh, hello.
Dan Dugmore, my name is George Hampton V, and don't hang up. This is not a telemarketer.
Don't believe him.
I've heard
Don't
that
believe
enough
him.
tonight. That was pretty good. And I was actually going to start with that quote, but my wife said, I will kill you if you do that. But it would have been the best opening statement, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're doing the Rusty Young tribute.
I was just going to go, hi, it's Dan. Call me back.
Well, we're sorry that we're running behind, but we're not sorry in a way because there's so many wonderful stories people are sharing. And John Cowan has said to me, get a story out of Dan. Dan, do you have a story for us about Rusty Young and his influence on you?
And yes, I just missed that last statement. What'd you say?
Did Rusty Young influence you, inspire you? Did you play shows with Rusty Young?
Okay, yes. Okay, so I've been listening to her the whole night, of course.
Yes.
And, I wrote down my notes before I knew we were going to all hear this and talk about this. And like everything, I have like 3 pages of notes. And
oh, we got time.
as
We got
I've
time.
listened to every steel player tonight. I've scratched every one of them off.
All right.
But I just want you to know that because what they all said I wanted to say, but I'm not going to repeat myself. But
yeah,
how beautiful for everybody to say that. And thank you so much for calling me and all you guys, John Cowan and Jimmy Messina and Michael Webb and Bill Lloyd and Jack Sundrud and Rick Lonow and my love to Mary, because I never got to meet you, but I'm just telling you guys, this has been the most beautiful thing. So, number one, you have to laugh. At least I wrote all those notes off. You covered everything. I was like going to go, well, how did this happen? And then somebody went, well, how this happened. And of course, Jimmy Messina, he's just going, well, I was kind of there. And for me, for all these years, trying to figure out Rusty's solo, which we've always threatened that we can't do that, even Steve Fishell and everybody. And now to find out that it was the Broken Steel, and it was from Stephen Stills, of course. But then on the C6 neck, which makes perfect sense because they made no sense on the E9 neck, right? And so therefore, and I didn't play C6, but I went in my head. I went, what is that?
Well,
and that's what I've written, even just on my quotes on my first solo album. It's the first time I fell in love with the steel guitars when I heard Rusty Young playing steel guitar on Kind Woman, written by Richie Furay on the Buffalo Springfield Again album. So just to even acknowledge that to all you people that are listening, just to have to know that was like the high point in my life of doing what made my whole career, was being a steel guitar player.
Sure. Wow.
But, and all my other friends have said that, but you know, just and the thing is, like, for me, the most solo that I've got the most compliments on were Blue Bayou.
Yeah.
Which I'd only been playing steel guitar for like 6 years, but being inspired by Rusty, and they said, well, what were you thinking of? You know, because they said that's quite unusual, and I said, I was thinking Rusty Young.
Yeah.
And I just went, and they went, why? And I said, because he's making these uncontroversial runs up the neck, right? That just other steel players didn't do.
Yeah.
And I had no idea he was doing that on a C6 neck.
So Doug, you know, one of the things that Rusty has left all of you with, and I haven't heard anybody say this yet, he was very much an inspiration to all of you, yet you all still play on that damn E.
Uh-huh.
Why not grab that C neck, man, and start figuring out what the hell you could do with a C neck instead of an E?
You heard it from Jim Messina.
Well, you know, I'll tell you why, because I really think that he thought of it more like a lap steel neck tune. Because if you go play on those other pedals on the C6 neck, unless you like a brilliant like jazz guitar genius, they all they pull like one string pulls the third on the top up to the fourth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other third goes down to the flat third. And you're going, well, that's not a chord I can use, you know. And when you watch Rusty playing now, so I went that he's already off his chair and he's playing that C neck like a lap steel, okay?
Yes, he is.
Which he started on.
That's right.
Which is so brilliant, because if you can start early like that, and that's why it's so brilliant, and that's why I was able to kick off and play so great on Kind Woman, because he knew how to play the hell out of a lap steel, right, Jimmy?
That's right. And you know
what?
I never thought of that before, but you're right, because in those days he was learning to play steel from a teacher, obviously. And
all the way from the bottom up.
That's right.
And then I also things about where they knew he was such a genius that they were already bringing him to some shows when he was like 15 years old to see Buddy Emmons play.
That's right.
You know, and he was just already so ahead of his game, and just so wacky, you know. But so great that record just happened that way. It all fell together that way, right?
Well, I think it was one of the highlights, having him on the Buffalo Springfield album really made that.
Yes, and that's what started. That's what it started the whole thing with Poco.
Yep.
And so, just as a top off to this, which is so funny, so I got to do a record with Richie Furay and with Val Garay when I still lived in California, and then when I moved out here, we did a record. I can't think of the name of it. It was a beautiful record, Heart and Hands or whatever. But he said to me, Richie said, he says, I want to recut Kind Woman. And I went, you're kidding me. And he said, but no, with a full band. And so we went in the studio and we cut this beautifully, but so with drums and me, I played acoustic guitar, and Chris Lusinger played electric, and Neil Young played on it. But I'm like going, I can't believe. Now, this song that inspired me, but I just played acoustic on it. And so I was just like, that was like so thrilling. And then he comes to me and he says, Dan, I want you to put steel on this.
Great.
And I went, what? And I started shaking. And he said, yes, I want you to put steel. And I said, well, do you want me to play like some licks like Rusty played? Now it's shaking. He said, Dan, I can get Rusty. And I kind of went, oh, I guess you can. So he said, why don't you just come in here and play what you want to play? You know, and I went in there, and I was just, so imagine me sitting in front of Richie Furay playing on track of Kind Woman now. all these years later.
Oh my
How
goodness!
Amazing is that? And it's on it's Heart and Hands record. It was, but it's like, can you not imagine what the full circle my life has been to be able to do that? And then I just love Richie and love everything you guys have done. But I think that story is just like his story, because when would a cat ever hear steel guitar first time, then get to go play it with his hero, and then it's just, do you want me to play what Rusty played? Well, I can get Rusty.
No, we want you, Dan.
I'm going, yeah, no, you can get Rusty. So anyway, but how beautiful all the music and songs. Everything I wanted to say, I told you I scratch out those notes because all my to move to the next guy, but I just want you all to know, all in the studio, that I love you all and love to Mary, and thank you for calling.
We love you, Dan, and thank
Dan
you so
Dugmore.
much.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
See you, buddy.
The show is rolling along, and now we're going to be calling
Bernie Leadon,
a founding member of the Eagles. And prior to that, he was a member of 3 pioneering, highly influential country rock bands, Hearts and Flowers, Dillard and Clark, and the Flying Burrito Brothers, the one and only Bernie Leadon on
he's
dialing
on the way
for
for
Rusty.
you, George. Just a second there.
Have you dialed the number, I think?
No.
No?
Okay, do you have
Here we
that
go.
memorized?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, do it again.
No.
Here he is.
Hello.
Bernie.
Bernie Leadon.
Hey.
Here's John Cowan on the Rusty Young tribute. John, say hello to Bernie.
Hi, Bernie. Sorry we're so late, dude.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hello, Bernie. Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Cool.
Bernie, you were here in this very same studio with us back on Americana Central Time during the summer, I think it was, or the spring, or sometime within the past year.
Yeah.
So now you know exactly what it's like in here. And if you could
I
imagine...
can even smell it. I can just be
I thought you could. That's my jacket. I haven't washed it since. But we also have some cookies. That's the one thing you're missing tonight besides just being here with all the camaraderie. Have you been watching this on the net? The internet?
I'm sorry, was that a question?
Yes. Have you watched? Are you watching the live stream?
I'm sorry, I was having a little hard time hearing because I had it on my computer too. So.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, then you are.
Man.
Well, okay, Bernie Leadon, we're going to pass it to you now. Could you tell us one of your favorite memories of Rusty Young?
It's not very loud that I can hear you.
Okay, can you tell us when did you first meet Rusty Young?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Bernie? This is Jimmy Messina.
Yeah, hey Jimmy, I can barely hear you guys, but let's carry on.
Okay.
The question was when was the first time that you met Rusty and or was influenced by his musicianship?
Well, so the first time I saw you guys I was probably standing next to Jeff Hanna at the Troubadour on a hoot night, an open mic night, and I know I saw you on one of those showcase shows. And the original Pogo iteration of Poco with Randy Meisner on bass and you on guitar, I thought was amazing. I mean, and so somebody just said that I'd been in those other bands. You know, I was in Hearts and Flowers, which was just an acoustic trio, and Dillard and Clark was an acoustic bluegrass band, and then the Burrito Brothers had steel and drums and so forth. However, when I saw Poco, I went, oh my God, they've rehearsed. because everybody started and stopped at the same time, and you know they were all obviously all tuned to the same piano, and everybody sang in tune, and it was dynamic, and everybody looked good, and everybody shaved and all that kind of thing. This was very different than the Burritos. And,
yeah, that's so funny.
So, but the band I thought was fantastic. I mean, fantastic songs, fantastic performance, great set. You know, I mean, it was just a super professional, polished, ready to go unit. You know, and Jimmy, did that band ever play shows for the public outside of showcasing with Randy in the band?
Boy, that's a good question. I know we did the Troubadour a couple of times. what was happened, and I wasn't very much a part of this because I was also producing the records in those days. But I think Randy may have left, to be honest with you, before the album was released because I think Richie had an artist.
That's kind of my memory
change
too.
the
is that
artwork.
The band. My memory is that the band was, in the studio was what we all heard.
Yes.
And you guys showcased a few times that
That's
I
right.
saw. And then the name change had to happen.
That's right.
And then before the album was released, Randy was gone.
That's right. That's right.
But so let's go over to Richie. To Rusty. So obviously super dynamic player and rock and roll player, like people have said, like Jeff Hanna said, and I forgot about the kick in the stool thing. But then he would stand up and he would be playing basically lap steel stuff on the top, on the top strings. But then on a couple of shows, he actually swung his leg over. He swung his right leg over the steel and straddled it and was playing super high, second, third octave between his legs, and just screaming, like distorted sound, and it was like, wow, this ain't Buck Owens' band, So, but I mean, super exciting. And then later, I was busy too, and then later on, after the Eagles started, we did a number of shows with Poco, and Poco in America. I remember some of those tours. We would, half the dates on the tour would be with Poco. And so I got to see a lot of shows in that era, 72, 73 era. And, it was a lot of camaraderie with the guys. And, I can't say that I knew any of them extremely well because we were all traveling in different directions, and we would just kind of see each other in the airport, kind of thing,
Bernie, were you in Hearts and Flowers? You said.
Was I in Hearts and Flowers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Hearts and Flowers for the second album. They had on the first album they had a minor hit called Rock and Roll Gypsies, I think in '67, early '67. Late '66, and then I came out and joined them and did one album, and then moved to Dillard and Clark.
Was Rick Kuna in the band?
I replaced Rick Kuna, so there were three guys, and I replaced Rick.
Rusty, it's John. I'm Rusty. Excuse me, Bernie. It's John. I wanted to ask you. You were a wonderful steel player yourself. When did you take that up?
So after the Burritos, after Sneaky Pete left the Burritos, Al Perkins joined, and Al Perkins is another fantastic steel player.
Yeah, man, we should have called him.
And so I was Al's roommate, and so we talked a lot. In fact, one day he told me about the singing drummer from his band from Texas named Don Henley, and and I started going, oh, Don Henley, a singing drummer. I'll check him out someday.
Good move.
Yeah. Anyway. What was the question again?
Well, I was just wondering when you actually started playing the steel, because I don't know how many people are aware that.
Okay, yeah.
You
So
great
then
steel.
the Eagles, the first two albums of the Eagles, we were just all playing guitar, and then I think I wanted to get one because Al Perkins was telling me about this ZB Brumley style steel that I think maybe he was repping them or whatever. So anyway, I ordered one, and it was delivered to me in L.A. 2 weeks before we left to do the third album in England. And so I spent a bunch of time learning to play it. And interestingly, I decided to play it without any picks because steel players bend them a different way than I bent my banjo picks, and I didn't want to have two types of picks. So I just started playing without any picks with three fingers and a thumb. And then we went to England, and I played it on Best of My Love.
Very
2 weeks
well.
after I got the steel, and I played the four licks I knew, and then the producer said, "Hey, why don't you double that?" So I went, "Okay, well I only know the 4 licks, so I'll just play them again," and doubled it, and then it got shelved for like a year, and then it got put out when we were making the fourth album, and was the band's first #1 record. So,
wow.
And then I put the steel in the case, and it's been there ever since.
Well, I think as Bill Monroe said, good luck with it then.
Yeah, totally. Hey, I just wanted to say that Jackson Brown calls this kind of a gathering. He calls it a gathering of the clan, which I think is a really lovely way to kind of put it, that we're all related. We're all, we all grew up together. We've all done things together, and sometimes closely and sometimes only occasionally, but we've all grown up together. And as someone said about high school, it's too late to go to high school with somebody else. I went to high school with the people I went to high school with. Yeah. I grew up with all you guys.
Yeah.
And we grew up, and we grew up with you too, man.
Yeah, and so it's fantastic that you're doing this event tonight and honoring Rusty and really honoring all of us and Poco in particular. I look forward to hearing Tim Schmit and Richie Furay talking a little bit.
Thank you so much, Bernie, for letting us call you.
Thanks, Bernie. You're welcome. God bless everybody.
Same to you, my brother.
Bernie Leadon.
Yeah.
And a tribute to Rusty Young here on Americana Central Time, WKOMradio.com. Around the world, WKOM Radio 101.7 in beautiful downtown Columbia, Tennessee. We're dropping stuff all over the studio.
Is it
John Cowan,
time or anything?
You want us to do another station ID?
We probably should, so we can gather our
Have
wits
we
here.
got a station ID for you right now?
Visit your local Buick and GMC dealership first for new or pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Parks Motor Sales. At Parks, professional sales staff makes shopping easy. Buick and GMC financing can put you in the vehicle you want, and certified technicians keep vehicles running great. Experience the new Buick at Parks Motor Sales. Go online to parksmotorsales.com. Find your favorite vehicle, then stop by Parks at 919 Nashville Highway for a test drive. Parks GMC. We are professional grade.
Hello, I'm Barbara Lincoln with Holland's Pharmacy. You may have heard our previous commercials about compression hosiery that we carry at Holland's Pharmacy. Well, we've recently expanded into a full line of knee braces, back, wrist, ankle, and other support wear. We will gladly help you get just the right fit for these items and, of course, special order items to ensure the proper fit. Come see us at Holland's Pharmacy, 1608 Hatcher Lane, or call us at 931-388-4233. 388-4233.
American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is built to a higher standard, so you can focus on the problems in your life that actually matter, like the stair that only creaks when everyone else in the house is asleep. American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, built to a higher standard.
Call Davis Heating and Cooling at 931-388-2090 for all your home comfort needs. Davis Heating and Cooling is your local American Standard dealer and proudly serves the Murray County area. Find Davis Heating and Cooling online and on Facebook or call today, 388-2090.
Are you thinking about a new fence? Maybe you need a pole barn. Then you should give Sands Fence Company a call. That's 931-309-1644. Will Sands has built his business based on the principles of honesty, quality, and integrity. Sands Fence Company has been in business for over 20 years, providing the community with farm, residential, and commercial fencing, as well as pole barns and buildings. Call today for a free estimate. Sands Fence Company, 931-309-1644. 931-309-1644.
This is Del Kennedy, owner of Kennedy Broadcasting Company, operator of WKRM, historically 1340 AM, now 103.7 FM, and WKOM 101.7 FM. We call ourselves Front Porch Radio, and I've said many times what that means. It means that we are working to connect this southern Middle Tennessee community, one listener, one relationship at a time. And let me elaborate on what that means. In this community, we will relentlessly promote jobs, commerce, business, industry, education, arts, green space, music, rivers, the great outdoors, healthcare, churches, charities, sports, and all the great people of southern Middle Tennessee. Join us, help us, call us. Front Porch Radio, Del Kennedy, thank you for listening.
This is Big Lou Maddox, and you're listening to the best radio in southern Middle Tennessee, WKOM 101.7 FM, Columbia.
back at Americana Central Time, a very, very special Americana Central Time. We are running a little long tonight, but that's because this is such a big, big show. It's a Rusty Young tribute, a show that is so big it could only happen on WKOM Radio live from Columbia, Tennessee. You know, talking about Rusty Young and talking about drummers. Sometimes drummers write songs. Yeah. Is there a drummer in the house that wrote this next song?
Yes. Well, thank you, George Chamberlain. Thank you for mentioning me.
Rick Lonow. When I heard you, it's a Rusty Young tribute, and you are Rick Lonow.
Yes, I was then and still now.
I know. But when I first heard you sing this song, this is what makes me so excited about Nashville and the Americana Music Triangle. Where history made music, and then music made history. Find out more about the Americana Music Triangle at AmericanaMusicTriangle.com. We're in Nashville's big backyard.
Yes.
And I was in the backyard somewhere. Maybe it was even in Poland or who knows, France, Holland, I don't know where, but you sang this song and I was going like, wait a minute. I love that song. That song made my world.
Well, thank you.
And then it turned out you wrote this song.
Well, I wrote this song with Ronnie Gilbo and Billy Crane.
Okay.
The three of us wrote it. We recorded it in Memphis, and just a lucky break, a friend of ours, Jimmy Davis, was writing with Rusty Young.
Okay.
They had the Legacy album deal. They were they were still looking for songs, and Jimmy just played this song. I said, you know, some friends of mine just cut this last night at John Horniak's place. Listen to this.
Yeah.
And boom, it connected.
Man.
We got the single on their album.
Yeah. So you've heard the rest of the story here on the Rusty Young tribute. Now we're going to hear the rest of the song. The song, well, should we tell them what it is or just see if they can hear it?
Let's see if they can recognize it.
Yeah, see if you can
know
recognize
it from the first mandolin licks.
It is a hit, and it was a hit for Poco. And here we are tonight on the Rusty Young tribute.
Let's make sure it's uppity, uppity, uppity.
This is the one. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Got all night, let's take our time. Tell me a secret, I'll tell you mine. It makes us feel better, call it love. You say you won't, but I say you will. You make me crazy, but I want you still. Makes us feel better, call it love. Do we tell the truth? Do we live a lie? Is the feeling good? Is that what makes you cry? When you say those words, look me in the eye. Tell me why you call it love. Each other till we've had enough. It's all you got, call it love. If I didn't have money, would you want me still? When we look real close, do we fit the bill? Call it what you want, but only time will tell. Take our time. Tell me your secrets, I'll tell you mine. If it makes us feel better, call it love. Call it love. Makes us feel better. Call it love. Makes you feel better. Call it love.
Hey, John, you don't mind if I do this just one time during this show because that song makes me feel like I got to do it. Watching Michael Webb play that part. Tom Hampton, you are a star.
Thank you, brother.
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Man, oh man, that was fantastic. I aimed away from the microphone, but I think I still broke a few speakers around the world.
We are going to call Mr. Timothy B. Schmit.
The Timothy B. Schmit?
And I hope he's not angry that it took us so darn long.
Yeah. Now, of course, Timothy in the Eagles, but first with Poco.
Yeah, and we're going to let his former bandmate here, Mr.
Jimmy.
James Messina, talk to him.
Mr. Jimmy.
Yes.
And here we go. See what happens.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless.
Oh, you snooze, you lose.
One more time.
Okay. Now, this is the Rusty Young tribute. Poco, legendary co-founder
Phil,
of
George,
Poco.
Phil.
And we're on Front Porch Radio.
That's right.
Beautiful downtown
Columbia,
Columbia, Tennessee. And, you know, it's just a wonderful thing what's going on here in the Americana Music Triangle. I think we need to do this concert at the Mule House here in Columbia sometime soon. Look up the Mule House online.
There you go. You got me.
Hey.
Aha.
Timothy, it's Jimmy.
Hi. Hey, James.
James, that's right. There's only two people that call me James. My mother when I did something wrong, and Timothy, because I know it's Timothy when he says James. How you doing, brother?
Very well. How are you guys? It sounds great. It's a great thing you got going here.
Oh, good. Well, we're honored that you could be a part of tonight and help us sort of relive much of what Rusty was contributed to so many people and so much music. But I was wondering if you might be able to share some stories or some of your experience with Rusty that you'd like to share with us.
Sure. Oh, by the way, before I do that, nice version of "Keep on Trying."
Oh, good.
Oh, thank you, man. Coming from you, that means a lot.
It was.
I was actually hoping you weren't going to hear that, but thank you.
It was quite a surprise, actually, and good going. Thank you. That was an honor for me. It's an honor for me to be here to remember Rusty too. I guess the first time I met Rusty I was in Los Angeles in the summer of 1968, and these mutual friends of mine who were from Sacramento, these girls were from Sacramento. They would go down to LA every once in a while. They'd come back to Sacramento telling me about how they were hanging out with the Buffalo Springfield, and we kind of went, oh yeah, sure. And then that summer when my other band was down there trying to finish a record, I found out from this girl that it was Kathy Patrick. Remember James?
Oh yeah, she was actually my foreman in Ojai at my ranch.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you do remember her.
I do.
Anyway, she said that there's this group, an offshoot of the Buffalo Springfield, looking for a bass player who can sing, and who could write. So I said, well, geez, yeah, that's me. And when so I quickly wrote a song because I had everything else going. I'd always wanted to write.
Do you remember the song?
I think that one was it's on Deliverance. It's not Hard Luck. It's the other one. Hear That Music.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I went to Richie's house, which later on became James's house, where I slept in the living room.
Oh my God!
My first part of my Poco tenure.
And Murray McLeod.
Anyway, when I first went up to this house, it was Richie's house, and and everybody was there, and it was mostly to see if I could sing at that point. And honestly, not clear whether I met Rusty that day or not. But I soon heard him play, and I was like everybody else, just really blown away. There was like nothing he couldn't do on that thing, and it's such a complicated, strange mechanical instrument. To have that kind of sound come out of it was truly amazing. And just like everybody's been saying, nobody had ever seen anything or heard anything like that before with the steel. That's and then I eventually after actually didn't get the gig. Randy got it right after that, and I went, that's true. And I went back to Sacramento with my tail between my legs, thinking, I blew my only chance. I got to go back to Sacramento and go back to school and stuff. But turns out that Randy quit, 9 months later, and they called me back, and I ran down there, and then we started rehearsing, and that's when I really heard. Actually, I saw a couple of gigs with Randy in the band too, and one of them was in Sacramento. I just went to see them play, and once again, my mind was blown with Rusty's playing with the whole band actually, and but he was really a standout, and then I got to play music with him for the next, I believe, 7 years or so. Rusty and I honestly weren't that close in a social way, but we were totally in sync when we got on stage. You know what I mean? I mean, it was so much fun for me to be on stage with that caliber of musicians, including James and Richie and Rusty and George and everybody, and later Paul. It was really a great experience for me, and I still count my blessings for having that experience, and then to keep going, to be able to keep going. I just feel so fortunate, and so that's my main thing about Rusty. Was I feel grateful that I was able to play music with him.
Yeah, man.
Well, and we were grateful to play music with you. You were a great contribution and positive energy. It really made it really wonderful for me too as well.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Thank you. This is really a great show you got. I'm hearing all these old friends, people I don't know but have heard about, and it's really a sweet thing you're doing here. And I also wanted to shout out to Mary and give her my best. What else can I say?
She's smiling.
And oh, is Mary there?
Yeah, she's right here.
Oh, great. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Tim. I got your text message.
She said she got your text message.
Yeah, well, you texted me back. So when
Mary, to the microphone.
Mary, come on over.
All right, here's Mary.
Hi. So when I first
hi, Tim.
Hi. When I first heard about Rusty's passing, I was recording in my own studio, and there was a couple other people there, and it was from Dewey, who I know was on earlier, Dewey Bunnell.
Yeah.
He texted me and said, "I hope I'm not the first one to tell you," and it turns out he was, and I was just shocked like everybody else, and it just was such a blow. It's so life is so profound that way. I don't want to get too heavy, but it's one of the the two miracles that I can think of in life are birth and death, because they're both so profound, and the latter so permanent. It's just such an odd thing. But I went outside. I said to the guys who were in the studio, I need a moment. So I went outside, or maybe more than a moment. I went outside and I tried calling Mary. And then I thought, God, what a buffoon. I mean, she's got to be having like 100 calls right now. But anyway, we finally communicated, and I just want to send you my best again, Mary.
Thank you. Richie got through.
Oh, he did?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's great. Good. I hear you guys are going to talk to him later, too.
We are, yes. And Paul.
Great.
And Paul's going to join us as well. So.
Oh, great. That's great. Well, I don't have a lot more than that. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to have played with Rusty, and this is a really great thing you guys are doing, and good for you.
Thank you so much, Timothy.
Thank you, Timmy.
Thank you, Tim.
We appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, God bless.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
John Cowan, this just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. How do you put together a show like this?
Everyone in here helped me. That's what happened.
That's true. Did Michael Webb help too with that
Yes.
accordion? Man,
Let's call Paul Cotton. What do you say?
Yes. We'd call Paul Cotton now. Paul Cotton is guitarist, singer, songwriter, most notable as a member
Jack's
of the
gonna
band
talk to
Poco
him.
and writer
And Jimmy
of
will too, I'm sure.
the international hit song from that band, Heart of the Night.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, oh, man. This is just amazing. So many, you just got to say it. This is a star-studded evening, a tribute to Rusty Young of Poco on Americana Central Time. You hear John Cowan singing in the background. It's phenomenal. You can come and see us. Now, this is what Front Porch Radio is all about, WKOM.
Oh, man, I just messed it up.
And we're just down the street from John Cowan. But I'm
Easy
not going
now.
to tell you where. It's an undisclosed location in Columbia, Tennessee. And we
It's
went
the
on.
one with the tin foil all over the house.
Oh, that's the tinfoil. Okay, I'll be there. Well, I tell you, these peanut butter cookies made by T. Willie. Wait a minute, the telephone is ringing.
Telephone is ringing.
We're calling Paul Cotton,
I hope it works.
author of The Heart of the Night, the song for Poco, member of Poco.
Is it ringing?
Is your battery working?
My battery's fine.
Okay. We're inside the mind of John Cowan. He probably talks like that when he's calling me and I don't answer. This is beautiful.
Hello, usted está comunicado con Miami,
Okay.
I think you got Cuba.
Did we get the machine?
This is
What
amazing.
number do you have?
But let's don't give it out over the air, because then everybody will be jamming the lines. So Tom Hampton, can you tell us where'd you come from?
I'm originally from Savannah, Hardin County, West Tennessee, right across the state line from Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
But went into the Navy out of high school because it was cheaper than college and didn't come back for 30 years.
Uh-huh.
But
Okay,
finally
it's
made my
ringing.
way back.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're here, man.
I'm glad I'm here too.
Yeah.
Heart of the Night, for a pedal steel player, there's probably more harmonics in that song than in probably the next
Hello,
30
this
songs.
is Paul.
Hey, Paul. Jack here.
Is this Paul?
Jack?
Yes. We're calling from
Oh.
the Rusty Young tribute show. I just wanted to.
Uh-huh.
We wanted to talk to you as well. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, Jack. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
we've all been here playing Rusty's music and listening to people talk about Rusty. I was thinking back to I got to play on stage with you and Rusty for a number of years, and there were nights when I
Yeah.
swear you guys were playing with one heart. It was just amazing, and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was magical.
yeah.
Every night.
Well, you must have some great Rusty Young stories.
Oh, so many. But, yeah, a lot of great ones. There's just one time somebody brought up comparing him to Hendrix.
Yeah.
And we actually did a very prestigious gig at Carnegie Hall.
Right.
And we're at the end of the set. He lit his steel guitar on fire on stage. Yeah, down on his knees trying to get that thing lit. And yeah, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
He'd do anything.
Jimmy is here as well.
Brave soul.
Hey, Paul. Jimmy
Hi.
Messina. Jimmy Messina, how are you?
Hi, Jimmy. I'm doing good, buddy.
How you doing, brother?
Good to hear from you.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Paul was very instrumental in my life because when it came time for me to make a change, Paul was chosen to come in, and he and I actually shared a room, and for a couple of weeks we learned guitar parts, and from that changeover we became very close friends, and you helped me out very much in California with my son, and I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, it's good to hear your voice, man.
Well, thank you. Great to hear you guys. That was awesome.
Well, thank you. We love you much.
The vocals, boy. Yeah, he wrote some great songs. Fun to sing.
Yeah,
I'm so glad he let me sing on Rosa Cimarron.
Yeah. Yes, you nailed it, man.
That was good.
That was you and Tim trading off in the verses, correct?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful
George
vocals.
and Tim and I doing all the other parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these songs that we've been doing, they're all just like everybody knows them, everybody sings them, and it sounds like a big campfire setting or something. Great stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
Good almighty.
Paul, it's great to hear your voice. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks, Jack. Great to see all of you again. What a great group of people. I love you all.
Well, we love you too, Paul Cotton.
We love you too.
Let's have a round of applause for the mighty Mr. Paul Cotton.
God bless. God bless you all. Thank you.
All right, Paul. You be well. Thank you, buddy.
All right. You are listening to the Rusty Young Tribute on Americana Central Time, a special
Have we run down
special
songs?
episode.
I guess we have. All right, we got two people to call.
We got two people to call. John Cowan, the pressure is on.
The pressure's on. The show's still good, though.
I want to remind y'all that tomorrow morning, now, JP, will you be on the air on WKRM tomorrow morning? Would you say hello? How about a hand for JP Plant? Our
man.
Great job.
Thank you, George. Yeah, tomorrow morning. Oh, that's loud. Yeah, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, 9 to noon. Weekdays on WKR and Muletown Radio.
Yeah.
All right, we're smiling and dialing.
Wow,
John
and
David
he's
Call.
got one of those voices, too. Yeah. He's got that real voice.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to...
Oh. But, you know, JP, also on Fridays you have Muletown Today.
Yeah, every day at Muletown Today. Friday we do have some musical guests, which you were a part of a couple of weeks ago. And
Could you tell us a bit more about the Mule House real quick?
The Mule House? Well, you know, Blair kind of left it open for all of us. He kind of left it a little intrigue, a little mystery about it. But it's opening soon, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's what we hope.
And that's going to be a phenomenal venue here in Columbia, just about a block away from the studio, WKOM. You're listening to right now, the Rusty Young Tribute.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to...
Wow, okay. We might have a wrong number for John David Call. John, if you are listening, would you send me a text with your correct number? Apparently the number I have is not... Do you have a number, Tom?
I'm not sure if I do or not. I'll check it now.
It's a good thing you're taping the show.
Yeah. And that's a good thing you found. That's my tape. Can you give me that? That's my master
Live
tape.
in the studio in Columbia.
I know.
All right, let's call Richie. It's a good way to wrap this up, and hopefully we'll hear back from John.
Yeah. John Cowan, this has just been phenomenal. Just to watch you dial the phone, I mean, I feel like I'm very
How does he
weak.
do it?
Look at that. We could probably see him. Now, we won't show the number on the live stream, but we heard there's now 20 billion people watching us all around the world.
Oh, they're falling off.
Yeah.
The solar system, no less.
Yeah.
Okay, here we come with Richie. You boys take over.
Yeah. We're talking Buffalo Springfield now.
Hello?
Richie?
Yes, it is.
This is John Cowan. I'm sorry we're so late calling you, but...
Hey, John, no problem, man. I'm sitting here looking at you right now, man.
Cool. Do you want a
Bless your
cookie?
heart.
We got peanut butter cookies for you, Richie.
I'm going to ask Jack and Jimmy here to jump in and,
Sure, man, that's
say
fine.
howdy.
Hey,
Yeah,
Richie.
you bet.
Hey,
Jimmy
Richie.
here. Hey, how you doing, brother?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Rich?
I've got kind of like an echo going here.
Hello, testing 1 2 2 2.
Are you there? Hello?
I'm here.
Hello?
Hello, Richie. Can you hear us?
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Can you hear us now?
very, very softly. I can't really hear you very well, but I can. There's a lot of crackling and a lot of stuff going on.
Shall we call you back? Maybe we'll get a better connection.
You can give it a try if you want. I am on the landline. We're having a storm right now. That might have something to do with it. But give me a call. Yeah, try me one more time.
All right.
I just want to say to...
Now you sound good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say to John David Call that Mike Riley sent me your number, so I think we can straighten this out. Yeah. Now, Richie, of course, is best known for forming the bands Buffalo Springfield with Stephen Stills, Neil Young, Bruce Palmer, and Dewey Martin, and Poco with Jim Messina.
Indeed.
Man, oh man, Jim, you were everywhere.
Yeah, don't tell anybody, please.
But now you live in the Nashville's big backyard.
Leave us a message and we'll get back to
Oops. Yeah, I actually moved to the greater Williamson County and 2 years ago.
What brought you here? Did you
Well,
feel the music from where you...
I just started. I just didn't relate to living in California anymore.
Okay.
We have animals.
Yeah.
And,
No, that is his home.
We have animals, and we have donkeys and horses and stuff, and it was drying up to the point where water would cost me $7,500 a month.
Wow.
I mean, you can buy a house for that a month.
Yeah.
So we packed up and brought kids, cats, dogs, ducks, and donkeys with us.
Well, with donkeys and horses, did you ever have a mule?
Well, we came to see Mule Days
Yeah.
here, but we weren't sure whether our donkeys would be welcome, so we wanted to make sure that maybe one of these days we could bring our jackasses.
All right, that's cool. Yeah. Well, we're gonna have a Mule Fest this year. I think it's coming up on Memorial Day weekend, and this is Muletown, USA.
I'd love to have a mule. I know that they totally protect. I mean, the donkeys will protect against coyotes and all of a sudden, you know, bobcats and stuff. But a mule there's no question they will just take over.
Yeah.
Or you could get Great Pyrenees.
Great Pyrenees.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that a
what they're
donkey?
made for. No, they're a dog, and that they're made to protect animals on a farm.
Oh.
So, John Cowan, I didn't know you knew all that awesome.
Donkeys are a lot less expensive.
Probably. Okay, here's Richie. Let's see what happens.
Hello.
Hey, Richie.
Can you hear? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, it is. It's still kind of crackling and soft, but I'll put one finger in one ear and hold the phone up to the other one.
Okay. How are you doing?
Doing okay, man. You guys have done a great job.
Thank you.
Who am I talking? Is this John?
This Jimmy.
Is Jimmy?
That's Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
So one of the things that we wanted to kind of talk about tonight, and is a little bit about, you know, some of your experiences with Rusty musically and personally, and some things that perhaps you'd like to share with us.
Well, you know, first of all, I just want to say I've been watching, and my heart really goes out to Mary, and I just want to say hi to her and everybody else that's there that I know and have crossed paths with along the way. You guys are all special to me, and what wonderful musicians, and it was sure good to hear from George and Timothy and Paul, and of course you, Jimmy, as well, man.
Thank you.
And you know, golly, man, I'm just really having a hard time really still wrapping my head around the fact that Rusty's gone. And I can think back as you were talking about Kind Woman, and when we had him come out to play steel guitar, you know, he came out sight unseen. We hadn't heard him play or anything. It was all at the recommendation of Miles, and we heard him play. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, man, when we heard him play, the only thing that we could say, man, was, "You want to be in a band," and so that was when we, you know, really reached out to him and all. I want to say one thing about Rusty. Rusty is probably the single one person that made Poco different than just another California rock and roll band, and that's because of the instrument that he played. And it was truly something. He was a genius musician and a great innovator on that instrument. He could play the sweet swells of traditional country music, and then, as somebody just said a few minutes ago, you know, he'd get on stage and play that steel guitar like a rock and roll instrument, running it through a Hammond B3 like Lee Michaels did, man. I mean, he was there was nothing that held this guy back. I mean, he was a true innovator and creator on that instrument. And it was a joy, man. And somebody else mentioned a while back too about the parts that you guys played together. You and Rusty played together, and those were so special, man. Those, I mean, I don't know how anybody could ever play those things again, man. As you guys played those duets together, like on Deliver, and it was just amazing, man. I've been very blessed to have had great musicians surround me. Like you and Rusty, and it's just been a blessing, you know, that I've been able to make the music that I've been able to make and surround myself with the players that I've been able to surround myself with. Is just something that I'll always be so thankful for, and I'm just really happy to be here and to just really say how much I love Rusty, and I miss him, man. Like I said, it's just hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that he is gone.
Yeah, there's a lot of us are still in shock. I know. I just I haven't let it go yet, but this was important for me to be here tonight, to be around his friends and family, and play some of his music that he contributed to. Your songs, our songs. It's been pretty special, and it's helping me to get through it.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, I'll just want to make this comment, Richie. This is John. For me, it's like, there weren't any other bands, and I don't think there's any still, that have four guys that could easily sing lead all the time in one band. I mean, your harmonies were like Motown, only it's four guys singing with this rootsy music. It's just, I was just thinking about this yesterday because I've been on a bit of a Poco binge, but the vocals on your records, and especially live, were just crazy good, unbelievable. Anyways, it's just, how many bands have four lead singers in them? Really?
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was a special time, and I'm really thankful that, you know, when we did it, we were allowed to experiment. You know, we didn't have to be put in a box. We could just experiment, and we were really creating something that was brand new. There weren't too many steel guitar players in rock and roll bands at that time. And it was certainly a great time to be able to make music, and I look back on it, and I'm just really very thankful and very blessed to have been able to have been a part of the music scene that was going on during that time, and like I say, to have played with so many great musicians, and you know, to have a guy like Rusty Young, you know, who was a genius, and the fact that somebody mentioned, you know, he was a rock and roll player. He was definitely a rock and roll player as well as a country steel guitar player, and we were very blessed to have him in the band and have him as a friend. And it was just, you know, I'm very thankful, you know, for the opportunities that I've had to have my life cross with so many great people.
Amen. Yeah. Well, Richie, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for your patience as well.
Well, hey, not a problem, and you guys all sound really good, and golly, man, just to go around the room and to just say hi to everybody, man, thank you so much for being a part of my life at some point in time or another. You know, you guys are all special. So bless you.
Richie.
Thank you, Richie.
Thank you, Richie.
Be well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Thank you so much. Bye.
Well, you know, John.
Yes.
Did you say, we're getting closer to the end of the show? No, it's not possible. How about a spontaneous chorus at least? Because the thing is, I mean,
one call to make, right?
Yeah.
We're still making a call. Okay.
Yeah, we have one call to make.
We're calling Mr. Call.
Mr. Calling call.
No, so we have the right number.
Call it. I hope so.
What is it?
Okay.
What is it? We have it still?
555.
This is
Oh, my back.
we're going to be calling John David Call. Steel guitar with pure
Extraordinaire.
Perry Lee.
So, Jimmy, we've sat here for almost over 3 hours talking to people and listening to folks call in, and, you know, steel players who've played on #1 records, countless #1 records, and all of these guys pointing a finger back to one person, back to Rusty Young. And, you know, I don't know how many of you guys watch It's a Wonderful Life every year at Christmas, but it's hard not to wonder how different all these people's lives would have been if you hadn't made that call on a recommendation, because you couldn't do that now.
No.
You know, now you'd have some producer saying, no, we're not flying anybody out. Get Pete Drake or get Buddy Emmons. It would have never happened now.
It's true. And as I said earlier, watching the leaf fall from the tree, I just sometimes even look at my own decisions, you know, as a producer, you got to make a lot of decisions, and it's not always everybody's happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
One person's performance might be another person's. Don't do it, but you make those calls, and I remember, I think the thrill I had during the session when I was working on Kind Woman was the disappointment, and the track did not come from New York the way I wanted it to. But when that steel part went on, as Richie pointed out, he so appropriately said, "You want to be in a band?" I mean, you know, that would be the. But we weren't even ready to be in a band yet. You have to realize that we were in Buffalo, Springfield still, and we just had a conversation about, wouldn't it be nice to have a band that might be more country rock as opposed to folk rock? So, I mean, I think about that performance that he did, and I loved it. I just said, I love this. And I'm sure we did a couple of takes, but that one did something for me, and I'm just so glad I had enough intuition to say, right, I'm keeping that. And look at the history that it's made for Rusty.
Something to be said for the fearlessness of youth, because maybe you wouldn't have done that 5 years later or 10 years later.
I don't know. I still do that, but it doesn't sell records all the time.
But I've had conversations with other people in and around the band, like what would have happened if Rusty would have had a dentist's appointment that day, or for whatever reason wouldn't have been able to get on that plane and come out. Because we've heard people over and over tonight point back to Kind Woman as, you know, that moment when the light switch went off, and it you know.
Well, all of our careers would have been a lot different, as I was saying. We probably would not be here tonight if it wasn't for Rusty and what he contributed. So I'm grateful for that.
It would be Pottersville instead of Bedford Falls.
Yes.
That's right.
Pottersville, yeah.
You guys know the 5 stages of the music business?
What's that?
You know the 5 stages of the music business?
Please tell us, John Cowan.
Who's John Cowan? Should we try John Cowan?
Get
me John Cowan.
Get me
Get someone that sounds like John Cowan. Get me a young John Cowan. Who's John Cowan?
Well, we know who's John Cowan. And you're here in the studio tonight. You gathered everyone together, and everybody helped out to put this wonderful thing together. Now you're dialing the phone.
Here I go.
You're calling
We're
John.
dialing
David
for
Cowan.
Rusty.
I'm sorry, the
Dial-
person you were trying to reach.
And it's the wrong number once again.
That's the number, right?
This is too much fun. Someone please.
This is what it's like when we were on our way to Greece.
That's right. Man, okay, Michael Webb, tell us your favorite Rusty Young story.
I guess we're not going to be joined by John David Call.
Oh, no.
My favorite one, we were up playing at Infinity Hall the night George Jones died.
Okay.
And we didn't have it. We were rushed at sound check, and then talked to John McTeague at home and said, "Are you playing all George Jones down there in Nashville tonight?" He goes, "Oh yeah, everybody." So Jack and Rusty and I what did we do? Bartender Blues?
I think so.
And man, he tore it up.
Yeah.
So got to play with him the night George Jones died.
Yeah.
And he tore it up.
Yeah.
On pedal steel. That's my number one.
Yeah.
I wonder if we should play Kind Woman from the Buffalo Springfield instead of Old Hat. What do you guys think? I don't know.
Well, we might. Can we do that after I just hear one more chorus of the biggest song that I ever heard Rusty sing?
Which is
this
Crazy
song,
Love?
Yeah, just a touch of that, because, you know, it's like tonight. Tonight is that night.
Tonight I'm going to get away.
Just you wait and see. But you'll never get away from us, because we are going to be back. We got to do a tribute part 2. What do you think, John Cowan?
I'm into it.
That's good. And we're here at WKOM, Front Porch Radio in Columbia, Tennessee. It's Americana Central Time. We've had so much fun tonight. It's been beautiful, man.
Yeah, it has.
Magic moments here on the show. This is what it's all about.
So a verse and a chorus?
Yeah.
Crazy Love. Tonight I'm gonna break away. Just you wait and see. I'll never be imprisoned by a faded memory. I think I'm over her. And this broken heart will mend. I hear her name and I start to cry. The tears come down again. It happens all the time. This crazy love of mine wraps around my heart, refusing to unwind. Ooh, crazy love. Ah, ah. Tonight I'm gonna break away.
Crazy Love by Rusty Young and Poco, sung by members of Poco over the years, and members of the Sky Kings, all worked with Rusty Young.
We have a bunch of people we want to thank before we say goodnight. But first of all, let's thank Bill Lloyd, Tom Hampton, Rick Lonow, Michael Webb, Jack Sundrud, Jimmy Messina, Michael Kelsh, Mary Young, George Hamilton, JP,
and T. Willie for the cookies.
T. Willie, Tommy Lemon,
John Cowan.
Johnny C.
And John Cowan.
And Madison Thorne, the photographer here.
Yeah, thank you.
And Madison Thorne, that's right.
Yeah.
And we're gonna end this. We're gonna play a song that we all love and that Jack co-wrote.
Cool. Jack Sundrud.
And I think this song for me embodies all the things I love about Rusty, and it's called Old Hat.
We want to thank you all for tuning in to Americana Central Time tonight on WKOM. We'll see you again next Sunday night. Well, there won't be anything like this show. I tell you, this was a show of all shows. A Rusty Young tribute for a player of all players and a gentleman.
And thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah. And just, think about that crazy love. Every time you hear that, he's still sending that message out. And
He's
you can
calling
hear it.
me.
Wait, somebody's calling John Cowan now. They're dialing for John. Who is it, John?
It's John David Call
What do we do?
calling us.
It is, yes.
Are you there, John?
Let's let Jack talk to. Let's have John David talk to us here for a minute.
Okay, well that is so good. I'm glad we finally make connection.
I'm glad we
had,
too.
uh,
I'm
we
glad
had
we do too.
unknown callers blocked.
Well, we have been Poco and Pure Prairie League and Firefall. We've been around many years traveling together, and you always talk about Rusty as your influence, and you have some Rusty Young stories, right?
By the way, I'm so honored to be part of this, and I'm sorry it didn't pick up soon.
No, I'm sorry we missed you, but we're
It's
here
all
now.
good. We're just glad you're here, John.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So am I.
So tell us about your influence from Rusty Young.
Huh. I don't think we have time for that, but I can tell you this, that I was thinking about steel guitar. Rusty Young was way ahead of me. Well, 9 months about. But when I heard what Rusty did with Kind Woman, and he was on the radio before I started playing steel guitar. But it blew my side. It pushed me over the line as far as wanting to be a steel guitar player. It was so good. The sound he got. And he told me later that they found an old steel guitar in a closet in a recording studio when they did Kind Woman, and he just took it out and used it to do this. That's just totally amazing, but it's vintage Rusty Young. It's so good.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
It certainly got him the gig.
Absolutely. I want to say something else real quick before we run out of time. There were steel guitar players, of course, and country music in Nashville and commercial country music, but before Rusty did this. But Rusty is the one who introduced the rest of the music-loving world to pedal steel guitar.
Yeah.
Way more than anybody else.
Yeah. Amen.
Including me. That was so good. God bless him. He sure blew my socks off just at the right time.
Yeah.
And honestly, Rusty kicked the door down, and I just kind of followed behind it and did what I did. But he's the one who made it happen. It is so good. So I've had a good career too, 51 years.
That's awesome.
But Rusty was ahead of me. I'll shut up for a minute if you got anything else to say.
No, I think that's great, John. We are glad that we finally got a hold of you.
Yeah, we so appreciate you calling in, John. Thank you for being
absolutely,
for hanging
man.
in there with us.
Yeah, thanks for waiting. Yeah.
Rusty is a monster musician and an even better human being in my experience.
Yes.
It's just been so good. I have not got my head around losing him, and it may take a while.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have.
Yeah.
Well, John, thank
this
you
is
so
good.
much for your time. We so appreciate you contributing to this wonderful
absolutely,
event.
and I am so honored that you let me be part of this. What a privilege.
Same for us.
Thank you for all of this.
All right.
Call me anytime. You got my number now.
Thanks, John.
All righty then.
Bye, buddy.
See you, John.
Bye then. Thank you so much. Bye.
Well, John Cowan, this has just been too much fun.
Woo!
You know,
thanks, buddy.
It's just too much. And here we are on WKOM Radio, 101.7 FM, just down the street from your house, whichever street that may be, because it's undisclosed. And it's somewhere just down the street from the Hillbilly Arms Hotel, but that's my place, and that's undisclosed.
It's down the end of Lonely Street. Called the Heartbreak Hotel.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, John, anytime y'all want to come back and do more Rusty Young, do whatever, this has just been fantastic. And that's what the Americana Music Triangle is all about.
Amen.
And that's where we are. You know, Americana Music Triangle runs from New Orleans to Nashville to Memphis. It's a triangle. And you can go on the Gold Record Road and see where history made music, and then music made history. Visit AmericanaMusicTriangle.com. John Cowan, people, we say 20 billion people are watching right now. And by the end of the night, it may be 40 billion people.
It could be.
This is going to be perpetually on the Poco site, am I right?
Yes. Yes, it will stay on there.
Right, so spread the word to your friends.
So you can revisit and watch all 6.5 hours.
You can watch your favorite moments and the phone calls that didn't work out.
Yeah.
You could have a peanut butter cookie.
You could.
You could even, if you want to, you could even, every time I raise this notebook, I say, we're in beautiful downtown Columbia, Tennessee. You can do that with us. It's all possible here. WKOMradio.com, Front Porch Radio in Middle Tennessee. It's the Americana Central Time. I'm your friend, George Hampton V. You're my friend, John Cowan. Could you say one more time all the people that are here for those who just joined
Brian
us?
Smith, reporting for duty. Michael Kelsh.
Yeah.
Yay. Jimmy James Messina.
Yeah.
Tim, thank you for your help today.
Madison,
thank you. Jack Sundrud.
Yay.
Yay.
Michael Webb.
Michael Webb.
Rick Lonow with the W. Tom Hampton.
Yeah.
Bill Lloyd. JP. Mary Young.
Yes.
Tommy Lemon.
Yes.
And thank you all so much for being a part of this with us. It's been a wonderful event.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll close with Rusty singing Old Hat.
Yeah. Rusty Young, or the Rusty Young Tribute, right here on WKOM.
Didn't leave a message. She never said a word. If there was something missing, well, I guess I never heard. Now I couldn't find the old me. I must have lost that too. It's funny how we always take for granted the one who sees us through. And if our love was all that, it never felt that way. It was a perfect fit. Wore it every day. Guess we outgrew it. Then a lot of time. Now that I won't hold the tears I cried. This morning I woke up. The radio came on. All alone in the darkness, I heard that song. It used to drive me crazy. She always sang along. But now there's something missing. Now there's something wrong. And if our love was all that, it never felt that way. It was a perfect fit. Wore it every day. Guess we outgrew it. Well, out of time. Now that I won't know the tears I cried. She didn't leave a message. She never said a word.
This is Terry Wilcox, a.k.a. The Chicken Man, a.k.a. T. Willie, and you're listening to 101.7 FM WKOM, Columbia, Tennessee.